Halloween.
Forever.
Man, it's been a week, guys. It's been a week. The holidays kicked my ass. What about you guys?
I had a pipe freeze where I was dog sitting.
Oofta.
Literal woof.
Yeah. That's because of the dog sitting. Yeah.
Because of the dog sitting.
I just
Not the pipe bursting.
I'm just beside myself. I'm like, if people don't want to discuss the cruel existential futility of all human endeavor, then they shouldn't say good morning. Welcome,
God damn it.
to another
You definitely floored both of us.
fucking Showdown episode. Another year of motherfucking Halloween is forever. I'm one of your hosts, Brian.
I'm another host, Megan. Not with an H.
No H's. If you do, honest to God, Meg will literally fucking murder you if you put an H in her name.
I'm Steve, also without an H.
Also, no H. I was just about to say that.
But what would you spell it? Steven.
Yeah, no, actually, it is an H because I do
I was
prefer.
going to say.
Calling you the fuck
Do you
out.
do that STEVEN thing?
No,
That would be weird.
one of my poor.
Yeah. What am I for? Oh, guys, we're here. It's the new year. It's our first episode of 2023. 2022. Boy, howdy, went out like a motherfucker, you guys. Wow.
Mhm.
It was a whole thing. I've just been pulling my hair out. I told these guys before we got on the on the old podcast here. I just finished up work just in time, to start recording. And instead of walking in, grabbing a beer out of the fridge and coming up, to record, I just grabbed 4 beers.
You know
I
what kind of recording this is gonna be
started with
tonight.
4 beers. I'm through 1.5 of them currently.
I was going to say that you're pulling your hair back and slicking it back, but not because you're getting a comb over situation happening. You just got the Fonz thing going on.
No, I haven't lost a hair in my whole life, actually. No, I do. So my, 2 sides of the family, my mom's side of the family, all the men do lose their hair very young. But I take after my dad's side of the family, and my grandfather's 92 years old with just a full, thick, luscious head of white hair.
Oh,
So
yeah.
luckily, I have not lost any hair, and frankly, my hair is healthier and more luxurious than ever, guys. I also am starting
that
to
going for you.
Yeah, I'm also starting to look like a predator of some sort because it's getting very long, and I do just kind of slick it back when I get out of the shower. I did jump in the shower real quick to just wash this disgusting day off of me. But anyway, guys, greetings and salutations to a new year, and we are jumping into that son of a bitching new year with a little cosmic horror.
Yeah, I'm just trying to forget this past year.
Mm-hmm.
Probably, actually, the last few years, I think I've just definitely blacked out.
Mm-hmm. I feel like
Meaning
2022
I just
barely
drank
happened.
a lot.
Yeah. I'm just trying to think of what are the New Year's resolutions going to be this year? I definitely need to be a little bit more active. I was pretty, I started a new job this year. It's been crazy. I haven't been exercising, that sort of stuff. But also, what else do I want to do? And my thing is drugs.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of just what I want to do is more drugs.
I think you need to do shrooms this year.
Yeah, I wanted to start doing shrooms. Maybe I'll start microdosing acid. Just I need to make my brain tolerate my existence. You know what I mean? You know what I mean when I say
Makes
that?
sense.
Yeah.
I think,
do.
I think,
No, I think.
yeah. And you should explore little cocktails for yourselves.
Mhm.
Maybe we don't necessarily talk about beers every episode, but maybe if, Brian decides to go into a K-hole,
Mhm.
you know.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. I'm going to do. I'm going to start doing Molly every day. That sort of stuff. That's my New Year's resolution.
Can we have one episode where we are all just fucked up?
New Year's resolution number 1: kill God. My New Year's resolution every year is to kill God.
Yeah.
And then my second New Year's resolution this year is to do Molly every day. But first and foremost, let's keep our eye on the prize. Got to kill God.
Yeah.
That's the first
Kill
one.
God.
Yep.
Kill God again. Back to the ketamine.
That could be a resolution.
Yeah. I actually did see a t-shirt pop up that I really, really loved. And it was one of those shirts that was like, I wish I thought of it. And it is a picture of Dale Earnhardt Sr., the Intimidator himself.
Number 3. This
is what you can't see me, but I'm holding number 3 up to the heavens right now. But the Intimidator, if you ain't rubbing, you ain't racing. And it was just a picture of him like fist pumping, and it had like in a NASCAR kind of font, it said, "It's a great day to kill God."
Oh my God.
And I was like, that's a fucking masterful shirt.
Did you buy it?
I didn't.
Please
I should have. I should have. I'm gonna. But in any case, guys,
you know what? That's my 2023 resolution is to get us on shirts that go hard Twitter or Instagram, whichever one of those.
Shirts that go hard. It's a great page.
I'm going to design us something that'll get us on there. That's my 2023.
I like that. I like that a lot. It's a good goal. I like goals that like instigate other people. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
It's like, it's not a goal for good per se. And nobody said resolutions have to be that. It doesn't have to be for good.
They can be bad. They can be evil. They should be, maybe.
But I mean, at the same time, I mean, they got to be good for you and me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It can be chaotic good.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it could be chaotic neutral. That's fine. It could be full on. I'm going to take a stance right now, guys. I think every person should have 2 New Year's resolutions every year. One good, one evil.
You know? Okay. Yeah. I was going to say maybe you alternate odds and evens. So it's like,
but kill God is always on there because I think that goes into both categories.
Yeah. That's both good and evil. But so like number 1, kill God. But if it's an odd year, do something evil. If it's an even year, I don't know, donate to St. Jude's or whatever.
Yeah. Yep. And then if it's an odd year, steal from St. Jude's.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if it's, even year, give money to Sarah McLachlan's puppies. Odd year, just
no.
Meg's not going to tolerate.
Wing a bag of cats into the river.
Yeah. Yep.
All right, I think I'm done with the episode, guys. I'm out.
Oh yeah, winner by default.
Undefeated, flawless victory. All right, guys, what do you got? Beers? We got beers. I've already expressed that I have 4 beers. And you know what? I felt it to be appropriate because I am drinking Pilsner Urquell, which, when we started doing the podcast, we dubbed my office, which we often record in, as Crypt Urquell because I do have a lot of Pilsner Urquell memorabilia and things. And you know what? For getting back to our roots, which is chugging Pilsners, killing God, talking about spooky shit, right? So I'm cleansing myself.
Getting back to your roots, bud.
Yeah, I'm cleansing myself in the blood of Tubi, which is Pilsner Urquell. I don't know. What are you guys drinking? That's
actually how you get baptized, right? Mm-hmm. I think that's how that works.
Dunk myself. I go to the Czech Republic. I strip down naked. I get like whipped with a bunch of birch branches or whatever the fuck they do over there. and then when my little hairy butt is just glowing red by getting spanked with birch branches, I dip it into a bath of Pilsner Urquell and cleanse all my sins. That's what I do every January. It's a tradition.
Every January.
I would definitely subscribe to that religion for sure. Mm-hmm.
You have a nice baklava afterwards.
Yes.
Well, one of my buddies, the one that I dog sat for, he actually went to Wisconsin when he was away. So he picked me up some spotted cow. Oh, yeah. I gave him a list. I was like, whatever you can find, but at a minimum, spotted cow would be sick or some other like flagships. Yeah. So I got some spotted cow. I mean, I do have an icy light also.
I know you do.
So,
we know you do.
Typical shit.
You don't even have to say it. We knew you do. I could see the reflection of it in your eyes. Like, cartoon characters, like when they like fall in love, they get hearts for eyes. When you're around an icy light, I see an Iron City can in your eyes, even through Zoom.
Yeah.
At this point, I think.
Understand.
Yeah. I think at this point, icy light is like the Holy Ghost. on this show. Like, we know it's just there and omnipresent. We're not really sure what it does, but we know it's there.
It's there.
Yeah.
It gets me drunk. That's what we're saying. It keeps me entertaining.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Yeah, weirdly enough, who was I just talking to? Oh my gosh. So one of my friends, no, one of my friends were just talking about my cousin's girlfriend, who she's lovely. She's from New York City, right? So she like born and raised in New York City. They met when he lived in Colorado, I think. Anyway, they moved to Wisconsin together for her like graduate program, whatever. They just moved back to Pittsburgh a few months ago, rather. She is an Iron City girl. Like, she's obsessed with Iron City. Like, we go to just we'll go to a bar, like a cocktail bar, or like something that's our craft beer bar. And she'll be like, "You guys have Iron City?" And they'll be like, "I see." She'll be like, "I see light." She'll be like, "No, Iron City." Like, she wants the full flavor Iron City. And like, if you met her, it's just like, it's not.
I like her already.
Oh, she's great. But it's just like, you wouldn't guess that about her. But she just, it's her all-time favorite beer now. That's all she drinks is Iron City. She's like brand loyal. She's lived here for like 3 months. It's great.
I mean, they do have an attractive brand. I mean, and then how else can you integrate yourself into Pittsburgh culture besides drinking Iron City?
Well, you know what? The funny thing is like she's a little younger. She's in her late 20s, I guess. So she's a little bit younger. Young, stylish woman. And all the other people in my life that exclusively drink Iron City, like my one friend Billy, who is one of my football coaches growing up, who has like a Marine haircut, wears cargo shorts year round. Like, he's also drinks only Iron City. You know what I mean? But he's the guy you would expect to drink only Iron City. You know,
right.
like
the Hank Hill types.
50-year-old. Yeah, he looks like Hank Hill, but like jacked. That's kind of what he looks like. Like, if Hank Hill was yoked, that's what Billy looks like. But that's what you expect an Iron City drinker to look like. But you know what? Shame on me for pigeonholing.
Times are changing, Brian.
The times they are
look
changing.
Like me, and they look like your cousin-in-law. Right?
Yeah.
The future is female, Brian.
I know. It's just it's weird because, like, if it was a good beer, I'd be like, oh, cool.
Right.
You're a jerk.
Far be it from me.
I hope your daughters grow up to drink Iron City.
You're such your goddamn going out.
I mean, there's no way they won't grow up to drink Blankenback.
Oh, yeah,
and that's
will.
just as like
chip chopped ham.
No, they're gonna end up drinking all the bullshit that you guys talk about, the $5 liquors that you guys bring up.
Mm-hmm,
Man.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
What do you got, Steve? What are you drinking?
Oh yeah, I'm also drinking a beer. I have Lawson's.
Some fucking Swedish fish, slushy bullshit.
No, it's good. I think. No, don't make fun. Don't hurt.
He's acting like he's all offended, like he doesn't drink that shit.
Yeah, right. Oh, I'm being good.
I do have a beer that I'll tell you about after this.
Oh, nice. But it's just Lawson's Mad River Maple. That's all.
Oh yeah, I like Lawson's a lot.
Yeah.
There you go. I saw you looking at the date.
Yeah, I was looking at the date. It tastes a little off, not like terribly off. It's just like it's a little off, but it's not. Yeah,
like oxidized, oxidized,
a little bit. Yeah. Not terrible.
I love Sip of Sunshine's great. I love what's their pills called? Something Mountain Pills. Dang, I'm forgetting it right now. I just had some of that a little bit ago. It's like kind of a silly name, something Mountain Pills. Like, I don't know. I'm gonna butcher it.
That might just be it. Just Mountain Pills.
No, it's called like Scrumple Mountain Pills or some bullshit. I don't know. I'm just making that, but it's something like it. But yeah, I always am a big fan of that. I always like Lawson's.
Yeah, it's not bad at all. But yeah, I just figured
I had to grab the can so I could remember what the brewery was that I was gonna tell you. I have
what
Scrag Mountain Pills, not Scrumple.
Scrumple. Yeah, that sounds like fucking like a candy cane whatever bullshit.
Yeah, chunky Mountain Pills. Chunk Mountain Pills.
Chunky. I mean, chunks are tasty things. My buddy also brought me back an Ecto Cooler beer.
Oh boy.
From Eagle Park. Kind of excited. I haven't tried it yet.
See,
I don't know if I should save it.
As
Should I
somebody,
age it, guys?
I would say no. Drink
That's
immediately.
probably sour, isn't it?
I actually can't tell.
See, I love any type of like nostalgic stuff, and I do love, like I like sweet drinks. I didn't grow up like a sweet drink. I'm not like a big like soda drinker growing up, but as I've gotten like into my late 30s, I think I've like started to really like sugary drinks more. I don't know why, which is not a good trajectory
Should
there.
this be my beer number 2?
Yeah, give it a go. Here, hold it up. Let me look what it says. It literally says Ecto Cooler. Just change the C's to K's.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that thing's gonna be green, right?
Yeah, there's definitely notations for TTB on yellow number 5.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Okay.
And yeah.
Is it a sour? I assume it's a sour because Voodoo makes a lacto
we're talking
cooler.
about. I'm just gonna open it so we can look at it and we'll talk about it.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
Yeah, because Voodoo makes the lacto cooler, and that one's it's whatevs.
In the meantime, let's talk about what we're going to accomplish today while Meg's pouring this weird beer. For those of you who are new to the show, let's say perhaps this is your first episode. Welcome. Right? Where you fucking been, you dork? Meg, that's literally disgusting looking. Because it's cloudy. What is happening?
Meg, that's a glass of boogers.
It is neon. Like Meg is in like a dimly lit kitchen and it's glowing in the dark.
I'm gonna take a picture and I'll send it. You can post it.
Yeah. Jesus Christ. Anyway, if this is your first show, like I said, welcome, but also like get your shit together. Where the fuck have you been? This is what we do. Every single week we get a new episode that comes out, but every first Monday of the month we do a Showdown episode. And what we do is we get topics that some of them we come up with, some of them are suggested to us by our listeners and social media friends, but we put them on this big old spinny wheel, right? And they could be subgenres, they could be, things that are time sensitive, to the particular time of year, whatever. We pull 3 of them off that old spinny wheel once a month. We put them out there on the social medias, and then our social media friends and listeners vote to figure out what topic we're going to do for our Showdown episode. Once we have that topic, we each pick a flick that is associated with that topic. Then we watch all 3 of the flicks, and we each argue about why, one is superior to the other. People get mad. People end up going over to the turnbuckle, taking the padding off, smacking somebody's face off the bare turnbuckle. Somebody ends up getting, jackhammered or, the old Goldberg spear, something like that. Ultimately, one person takes home the son of a bitchin' strap, that championship belt for the month. And then we do it all over again the next month. So this particular Showdown episode, our social media friends and listeners, and if you want to follow us on all social medias, go ahead and search Halloween is Forever on Instagram and Facebook and Twitter and TikTok and all that sort of thing. And you will find us on there. It's like at Halloween is Forever, typically speaking. If you want to help us vote or suggest topics. This month, they picked cosmic horror. So I feel like cosmic horror may be something that we should establish, like maybe the average film fan that's not a hardcore horror nerd or something like that may not necessarily know what constitutes cosmic horror. Is that fair to say, or am I shortchanging people here?
No, I think it's like a little bit of a nebulous subgenre.
Yes.
But
I feel like it's the least intelligent on the topics of subgenres. Like I was like, okay, I gotta go Google just what would constitute this.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I said on the last episode that I was like, I knew way more movies, and I was actually way more excited,
right?
Because I knew more movies under the subgenre.
Yeah,
but a lot of them, we can kind of break it down a little bit. There's like some HP Lovecraft vibes, usually some sort of like existentialism like going on, but it seems to like vary. Like it doesn't necessarily mean space.
Right.
No. And I think that's what people confuse it with. They think cosmic and they think, what do I think when I think of cosmic? I think of cosmic bowling. I think of black lights. I think of dirty carpets. I think of neon. Yeah, that beer. That's what I think of. And actually, Meg, that is a remarkably
oh my God.
Apropos beer, actually, for cosmic
for
work.
your movie.
Yeah, that too. I didn't even think about that. My God. Anyway, it literally looks like reagent in a fucking glass. But anyway, but it's not really that. It's more about existential knowledge, usually something that is bigger and broader and dwarfs the human experience to us in a sense that like it is information is learned or discoveries happen that are beyond the normal scope of human existence and throws people into the deep end of the cosmos, if you will.
And it usually drives at least somebody mad.
Yeah, there's usually someone going nuts with
and
this
his name's
forbidden.
Sam Neill.
Yeah, it's often his name is often Sam. Is that person's often played by Sam Neill. There's oftentimes some sort of like grandiose scientific discovery. That's a pretty typical theme in cosmic horror. And there is oftentimes some sort of like breach between what is real and what isn't. And like what is actually happening and what is only happening within somebody's given existence or brain or whatever.
What I think is cool about our three movies though is I think we have a good spectrum. We have mine going from literal like space to we have like very earthbound science driven thing to very existential, just like crazy fucked up things happening with Steves and stuff like that. So I think it'll be a cool episode.
Yeah, I would say that cosmic horror is most closely associated with the works of H.P. Lovecraft, but not always. But he is certainly the most well-known kind of cosmic horror writer, I would say. Anything else?
How to fuck with your brain.
Yeah. Anything else? And they do a lot of like unknown type of stuff, like incomprehensible horror that is like beyond the human existence and is just like torturing to the brain kind of thing. So, anyway, anything else I'm forgetting? I think that's the general consensus of what cosmic horror is, right?
Yeah. That's pretty good.
Yeah. There's always some like fear. I would say the other thing that's big is like the fear of the unknown or the unknowable, maybe perhaps.
Yeah, that what isn't known and that what shouldn't be known.
Shouldn't be known or can't be known or like I said, outside the scope of human existence. Okay, so that being said, the movies that we're going to talk about, your boy, back-to-back champ, to going for the three-peat. Right. Even though it's bleeding into a new calendar year, going for that fucking three-peat, guys. I chose, I would say one that's probably one of the hallmarks of. Actually, I think we probably all three of us did. I would say all three of these movies would probably be considered among the, maybe even the Mount Rushmore of cosmic horror, or if there was several other faces on Mount Rushmore, but they're all up there. If you Googled cosmic horror, you'd probably come up with, these three movies would probably come up in there.
There's multiple faces on the Mount Rushmore and you cannot determine how many there are.
No, it's impossible to know what faces are on the Mount Rushmore of cosmic horror. And if you look into the face of any one of those figures, you'll go mad.
And Teddy Roosevelt.
You'll also see multiple other faces.
Yeah. And the faces within the faces. And it's different faces to different people. And also the mountain doesn't exist. All right. So I did Re-Animator. Classic Stuart Gordon, Brian Usna joint Re-Animator starring one Mr. Jeffrey Combs. Meg, tell us about what your flicky is.
I chose, again, a classic of Event Horizon.
One Mr. Sam Neill.
Spooky. Yeah. We got 2 for 2 on Sam Neill tonight.
I almost picked Jurassic Park just to make it just to make it even. No, actually,
Pretty close.
I mean,
There might be an argument for that.
Between these two and In the Mouth of Madness, John Carpenter's In the Mouth of Madness, like those are three of the, like, for whatever reason, Sam Neill is in a lot of cosmic horror flicks for whatever reason.
I just didn't realize, sorry to cut this off, I didn't realize how much I think I like this subgenre and how, like, for how many movies that I've actually watched, that it fits everything that I look for now in horror that, like, I personally really enjoy.
Yeah. Well, I think the reason why he probably pops up in cosmic horror so much is the movie I'm doing, Possession, from 1981, is like he said it was like one of his favorite films to do.
Yeah.
Even though it was like it was like totally crazy and taxing for him to do. Like both him and his co-star both said like it was one of the hardest films they've ever done, even though they were like super young at the time.
I can't imagine well, we'll get into it, but those performances are so wild in that movie. But yeah, I do feel like Sam Neill lends himself to these kind of almost art housey themes really well, which is interesting because when people think Sam Neill, they think of like one of the biggest blockbuster movies of the last, half century, which is Jurassic Park. But in reality, a lot of the stuff he's in is very esoteric art housey type of stuff. But
mildly dark,
in his
own way.
Like in a different world, like in a different timeline, Sam Neill is like William Dafoe or Christopher Walken. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He still has time.
I think he's happy
Is he even
with
acting still.
Oh yeah,
Sam
he
Neill?
was just in the latest Jurassic Park.
And he was in some Western not that long ago. He's great. He's fantastic. Love Sam Neill.
Yeah, I just didn't know what he was still doing now as far as like he probably could still find a movie like this and do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he could probably. Yeah, he would probably play a smaller part.
Horizon
the
sequel?
Physicality of the role, especially Possession. Like we'll get into it. I'm getting ahead of myself. But so let's get into that. So again, as the back-to-back defending champ, I get to pick the order in which we talk about some of these goddamn flickies. So I actually, because, and this is maybe at my own detriment, but I do want to talk about Possession. So I do want to, because we're already kind of getting into it and stuff like that. So let's talk about Possession. Let's split up the Sam Neil's. Let's talk about Possession with Steve first, then I'll get into Re-Animator, and then we'll follow it up with Meg doing Event Horizon.
Save the best for last, You're setting it up.
All right, so let's get into it. Let's talk about that movie you got.
Yeah, so 1981 Possession, directed by, oh boy, Polish name, it's going to be hard. Zulwalski.
Sure.
That's the best I can do. But it stars Sam Neill, and his co-star for the film playing Anna is Isabelle Adjani, and she is a French actress. So this film is just kind of wild in the way it's put together. And it was a movie that actually it was a UK film, but it was filmed in West Berlin. So there's a lot of like full on like Cold War themes that we see through it. They're not the most heavy weighing themes, but it adds to just kind of the overall story. But because it was a UK film and from the 80s, it was originally banned as one of the video nasties.
Yep.
So it was banned in UK. Was not well received. Yeah, was not well received other places. And when it came to the US, it was cut down from 2 hours to like 85 minutes. So
wow, that movie would be very confusing at 85 minutes.
Yeah.
But I could only imagine they'd probably only take out like the best parts, that I'm sure we'll dive into. But I feel like that's like the best thing we could do.
Like the squid fuck.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard to imagine like taking anything out of this film as long as it is, as big as it is. It is always building upon itself. So to remove like over a half hour of stuff, you're going to be making like crazy jumps in there. So I couldn't imagine what that cut is, but it obviously was not favorable because most people haven't really seen this film. They haven't really heard of it.
It's kind of hard to find.
Yeah. That's the other thing. It was hard to find.
Where'd you guys end up watching it?
I ended up finding it. Where did I end up watching it?
Is it still on Metrograph?
I thought you said last episode you had a VHS of it.
I don't.
Okay.
I looked. I don't. I thought I did, but I don't.
Yeah, that would have been a rare find. I just didn't know if that was like a rare collector's thing you had.
No, I thought I did, but I don't.
Yeah. I have a recipe of cookies that
yes, of course.
Yeah. That I may have, been squirreled away on a hard drive for a long time. But.
This goes on and off YouTube because I remember I watched on YouTube a while ago, and then maybe maybe a year in the last couple of years, I went back to watch it again, and it wasn't on YouTube, and now it is again. Yeah. So I think it goes up and down off YouTube. Yeah,
it goes up and down off YouTube and like other, less spurious sites. And then, but we talked about it last episode. It will be going on Shudder on January 5th. So,
nice.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. If for some reason, you haven't seen it, check it out there. But let's
definitely watch it.
Yeah. Let's get into the movie itself. Like I said, the story, it takes place in Cold War West Berlin. But it's never like really leaned upon, with the exception of when they're showing from Sam Neill's apartment. He can see the border wall. He can see, the separation between East and West Berlin from his house. And this also plays into his character because Sam Neill is a spy who is returning home from a mission, and his wife has become very erratic. His wife, Anna. She's erratic, and it appears that she's become unfaithful to him.
She's what I would call wilding out.
Yeah. she is for sure wilding out.
So a couple of notes that I will make first, just on the scene, that I feel like I love how great this movie is. It like literally just paints this like, I hate using the word gloom because it's not really the right word that I'm looking for, but there's just always the sadness to like just the way the color is in the film.
Oh yeah.
But I don't know if you remember over the summer when I first watched this film. I think I mentioned it too, specifically because the beginning of this film, like probably for the first 45 minutes, were insanely triggering to me because like your take being like, oh, this lady's wilding out, where I'm like, no, this dude's kind of just like a neglectful piece of shit who just like hasn't really taken care of his family. And she's like, I'm not happy. And I'm like, granted, she's not going about it, I think, the best way, but like, she's like, I'm not happy here. I'm gonna leave.
Right.
And
yeah. There's a lot of
like,
fault in all directions. Yeah, it was
sure. We understand that, but yeah, I just felt like that control that he was initially, and we'll dive more into it, I'm sure. But I was like, it was so tense for me that that was like the fear aspect that was like scary to start this film.
And like that's the way this film almost pulls a misdirect, because in the beginning Sam Neill is so over the top, and like you're saying, Meg, like he's so controlling of Anna, and she doesn't have much response to the way he's behaving. Like he is just like fully unhinged, losing his shit. He's trying to figure out like who she's cheating on him with. She's trying to figure out like, when did it start? Who is it? Where's he at? What am I supposed to do? I'm not going to take the kid. I want the kid. You can't take care of the kid. I want the kid. I don't want the kid.
Yeah, they have a son, by the way.
Another control move. Another control. That's exactly how I saw it too. I was just like,
yeah. And like you're supposed to follow it that way. And like that's kind of like the first half hour of the film is like just Sam Neill having all these unhinged moments. I mean, one of the better ones, just acting wise, and just, also it's darkly funny, is when he insists on her meeting him at a restaurant to kind of lay out and hash out, how are they going to split things up? How are things going to work? Yeah. And you get a lot of great framing. Just the way the film is shot, again, like Meg said, there is a lot of gloom. Just everything is gray and like depressing and sad. It doesn't bother you if you're from Pittsburgh, but you get it.
But it's weird because visually, like the color palette and the background, the settings are all very gray. It reminded me of, in the Rankin Bass special, which I just watched because it was just Christmas time, Santa Claus is Coming to Town, where they go to Somber Town You know, that's like with the Burgermeister Meisterburger and all that.
Yeah.
It reminds me of Somber Town a little bit, which is definitely this like, now that's more like a World War I maybe era type of thing, but it reminds me of that type of setting. But then interestingly enough, the shots and the performances are super dynamic, almost not almost to a point where it is obviously a clear directorial decision.
Oh yeah. Like like we didn't talk about it yet too much, but like this film does fall to the surrealist side. I mean, aside from just like the cosmic horror elements, like the performances are purposely over the top. Yeah. And again, like you were saying, Brian, like the way it's dynamically filmed, like there are so many steady cam shots. There's an early scene where Sam Neill is meeting with his handlers at the spy agency. And it is just like this wildly rotating.
They're just circling. The camera's like circling them. Yeah. And one of them has a goddamn eye patch. It's great.
Right. Yeah. It's so camp. But then like also the room is very empty. It's just for one reason or another. It's just a table in the corner of the room with these 4 supervillains as Sam Neill is giving an exit interview and the camera is circling around them. But yeah,
it seems like David Lynch. It's like it almost reminds me of Eraserhead in a lot of weird ways. Like the way it's shot.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously not visually, but just the way it's shot and I don't know. It just reminds me of like David Lynch or even like it's like if David Lynch did like collaborated with Bill Burroughs or something like on a romantic drama.
Well, like I don't know if you guys felt this way, and like the best word I could use is like it. I mean, surreal is like a great way to use it, but it feels continuously like a caricature. Like everything is just so much bigger, and I think it aids in this dramatization, but also throwing you off on like that thought of what is real versus what is not.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the things that this movie does insanely well.
Yeah. And I think, I don't know how intentional this aspect would be to the way I'm going to put it, but so we're talking about a UK West Berlin production with Sam Neill, who's from New Zealand. The actress is from France. The director is from Poland. And they're putting all of this together. And the way everything is filmed and acted is like in a way that somebody who doesn't speak the language could watch and still get kind of what's going on. Just like with the way how everything is big, the way everybody's behaving, and then like the way things are framed. Because back to this restaurant scene that I wanted to talk about just for a second is like when Anna comes in, she doesn't sit at the table that Sam Neill's sitting at, who plays Mark. Anna doesn't sit at Mark's table. She sits catty corner to him, and they're both facing away from each other. And so just the framing tells you right away that they are in disagreements. They are not, they are not on the same page.
I took that as like I remember the first time I watched this, I thought we were going to learn she was a spy too, because they're meeting like spies would.
Right.
In public.
Exactly. Yeah.
Interesting.
And that's kind of like you get, again, for us who have seen the movie before, we know where it goes. But, on a first watch, you get led down those paths because, at first it's like, oh, she's, infidelis, but you learn that like, she's not with the person that she was cheating on him with. She's somewhere else. And where's she at? And like the whole time he's looking out the window at the border wall. It's like, oh, is she did she become an agent for the East while he was away?
Well, because there's also like people watching him and shit.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, there's so like you get led down like these spy thriller, things, and jumping ahead to like worst detective in the world, you get it like a spy chase almost, but it's like the worst spy chase ever.
yeah, just like the least incognito thing ever.
But just to finish up this restaurant scene, like it ends with, you know, Sam Neill just basically losing his shit on Anna, and he's throwing tables, he's tossing tables, and it's the most over the top, you know, reaction.
The chefs all come out and tackle him and shit.
Yeah, the entire back of house comes and tackles him, and it's just,
all with their white coats and hats and everything. It's just like so over the top.
Yeah,
it turns into like
so
a Monty
funny.
Python sketch almost or something.
Yeah. It's so funny. It's so over the top. Like, that's where you really get introduced to these like over the top behaviors. The next one that really sticks out to me is Mark comes home and he finds his son is like just covered in jam and, you know, is like has been by himself all day, which now like leads Mark down this path of like, oh, well, like she's so neglectful of her family. It's not just me. She's now neglecting my son and her son. And that leads to the very next scene of him in the rocking chair. And I don't know what it is.
Like,
yeah.
Wait, if I remember correctly in this scene too, he wasn't supposed to be there in a sense. Like he just kind of just showed up.
Right. Yeah.
If I remember.
Yeah.
So like it felt like almost this like gaslighting scene in a sense.
In a way, like, because it was right after the restaurant scene where he said he wasn't going to be around Bob anymore, but then he does just show up at the house. Right. Like Bob doesn't know that he's not supposed to be there, but it is like a recurring theme throughout the entire film that like Sam Neill just won't give up, and he is constantly going to his actions are going to constantly be the opposite of what he says. Because he always seems to have like these little moments of clarity of like, oh, I can think better now. I know what I have to do. I know what has to be done. And then he just like fucking wows out and does some crazy shit that like he like goes back to stalking or goes back to, you know.
Yeah. And like in that scene specifically too, it's like it. Like in a sense, you like want to also believe Anna. Like you want to, I wanted to believe that like what she was saying. Because if I remember correctly here, that like someone was supposed to be there and they just like didn't show up or something like that, or she had to like go to work or whatever it was, and then he just showed up, and it's just like caught in a unfortunate situation. And these type of things I think continuously happen where allows him to like control the narrative in a lot of sense throughout this film.
I mean, I'm getting a little bit ahead, but I'd like to discuss it more as we go down. Is like, this is the first time I like, you know, I think this is the third time I've seen the movie, or maybe it's only the second, but obviously I paid attention. Like I knew it was coming. So, you know, I could pay attention a little closer. And I didn't realize when I watched it before how much everything is from Sam Neill's perspective. Like, to the point where it almost makes you question not just the big crazy shit that happens later when really shit hits the fan, but like you earlier in the movie, you're like, well, is this really the reality? Or are we just seeing it through? It's like Jacob's Ladder-y almost. You know what I mean? Like, is this just in his brain?
Right.
Yeah, I would say probably the first maybe 40 all the way up until he gets the film reel. It is like it's really from Sam Neill's perspective, but then like there's a solid 3 or 4 scenes right in a row that are all from Anna.
Completely switches.
Yeah,
that's the one thing about this movie that's I think probably why it doesn't have people who have seen this, people who love this movie.
Hell yes,
like,
we do.
Fucking love this movie. Like I've seen this on people's lists of like their favorite horror movies of all time, but I don't think it has as wide of an appeal because of one, it's just like a very hard to follow narrative in general, but also it's constantly not just questioning reality or like introducing, you know, elements of a unreliable narrator, but it's also constantly like intentionally contradicting itself. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Even with shots, like not just what people do and say. Sam Neill's always contradicting himself with his actions versus what he says. I mean, they both are. But even like certain scenes where you see something and then there's a cut and you see something totally different. And you're like, who is seeing what? You don't know.
Right.
Which is what I think I liked was like, again, the exaggeration or caricature, I think, of like when you're possibly like going through divorce, which again, why this was so triggering to me, which if be clear, and of like everything always ends up going to the extreme because you're like stuck in your own brain and your own emotions. And so I think that's exactly what this was like portraying, was like, again, this exaggeration, but like so very real and intense.
Yeah.
And,
I don't know, Meg, did you look up anything about this movie or know that like the director wrote this while he was getting divorced himself? Or were you aware of that?
I feel like maybe I feel it's somehow triggering. Like maybe
it's
I
not something
like I don't.
Yeah, it's not something we talked about on the show, but I don't know if you knew that about it.
It just sounds like deja vu. Like maybe I knew that, but I actually don't think I knew that.
Okay.
But yeah, that makes total sense. Which again, this is like on point for every ounce of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this was something he wrote like while he was going through his own divorce, and apparently it was rather messy. So, like, it's why. So
but I think it's a really cool, like almost literal painting. Like if I watched this movie, if it was then turned into a painting, I could like watch the chaos and the emotions like within it. Like that's what this movie came off to me as. And I think it does it really well.
Yeah.
And I think like all the points you guys are hitting so far, as far as like, if you didn't understand, like what the plot was, you could still understand. But it also kind of reminds me of like almost a theater production of like like something being a little bit more flamboyant of sorts.
So many of the scenes are like read like a stage play.
Yeah.
Like the ones in the kitchen and stuff, and I mean just tons of them. Yeah.
A lot of it is like it's obviously projecting to the back of the house, but we're just watching it on film. But that wants me to jump forward to the scene. This is after Sam Neill has confronted Heinrich.
Heinrich rules.
Heinrich rules. But like, so Sam Neill discovers that he discovers who Anna's lover is this guy named Heinrich. He's like this kind of hippy dippy new age guy. He's all about like seeing God through sex and like taking drugs.
He's like 60-year-old like Europe. He's like 60-year-old Russell Brand almost. Or something.
Yeah, he's total Euro trash.
Total
His shirt's always open. I was
but he's
surprised.
Also like a fucking ninja.
I mean,
yeah,
I'm not gonna lie, I'd be into it too.
Meg would. But so this is after Sam Neill's confronted him for the first time, and like Sam Neill is back in the apartment, and Anna is with Bob, and they just start out fighting again, and like he is trying to get some sort of reaction out of her. He's trying to get her to give up on Heinrich or give him what he wants in some way, and she just doesn't seem to be movable in any direction. And so he starts slapping the shit out of her. And this is probably one of the hardest lines in the movie. But like he's slapping her and he goes, "This is for all the lies." And then just like through gritted teeth and spitting out blood, she's like, "Then you'll need more." And it's Jesus Christ, that's fucking so tough.
Yeah, she went so hard on that line. Yeah, it was a great line. The performances in this are incredible, but especially, and you said with the actor's name, what's her name?
Isabel.
Johnny?
Johnny.
Yeah, Johnny. Yeah.
Holy shit, what a performance.
Yeah.
And multiple parts because she plays multiple characters, which we'll get into, but
as I don't want to say poorly received, but just as small the audience was in the 80s for this film did debut at Cannes, and she did win Best Actress that year.
That's not surprising.
Makes total sense.
So it did get its accolades in the day, but it just didn't hit the audience because there was so many.
I could see this movie being a commercial bomb.
Yeah.
Which is
For
unfortunate
sure.
because
because it's like artsy as fuck. Like if this was produced now or even possibly rated, it'd be complete like art house type.
Well, and it's also like kind of a hard watch. It reminds me of Jacob's Ladder. The more I think about it, the more it reminds me of Jacob's Ladder. It's not a movie you're going to throw on for fun in the afternoon. Like,
No.
it is a taxing.
This isn't a comfort film.
No,
I mean,
is a taxing
maybe
movie.
I am gonna go back to therapy soon. So like, maybe I'll watch it before I go back.
Just open up every wound.
Drudge up every sort of wound I got going on.
Schedule a special like 3-hour session with your therapist and be like, 2 hours, we're gonna watch this movie and then discussion afterwards. But
so what did you think?
Yeah. So
what did you see the correlation between what I've talked to you for the past 3 years? Okay.
And then the therapist is just shooting milk and blood out of all their orifices.
She's like, I don't think we should see each other anime.
You get fired as a patient.
With me. Yeah.
What do you think the squid monster represents?
Situation.
So yeah, after putting his hands on her, like he chases her into the streets. She like wrecks a truck, and this is the first hint that we get of Anna being more out of control than what we think she is. Because at this point we think she's just reacting and numb and like unsure of what her life is. But like when she just like is fucking spitting blood in the streets and her eyes are just wide and she like just storms off into the night, we get a sense that like there's something more off with her than perhaps what even Sam Neill's recognizing.
Sure.
Yeah.
I wanted to jump to Sam Neill meeting her doppelganger, because this is a big theme within the entire film, because they introduce it early, but apparently Bob's teacher looks exactly like Anna. Her name's Helen.
Just different hair. It's Anna with a wig.
Yeah, different hair. And I think her eyes might be different colored. I think Helen's eyes are green and Anna's eyes are blue. But other than that, same person.
Yeah, it's literally, and it's played by the same actress.
Yeah, literally the same actress. So they introduce this early, and Sam Neill's character recognizes it. He's like, "Is this some sort of joke? Are you fucking with me? Like, give me your wig. Like, what is this?" But then quickly accepts that it's just Anna, or it's not, or she's just her own person.
Yeah.
And I think this is something they introduced because they want. This is a surrealist element of the film, and that they want to bring apart this idea of like an ideal partner that you would move on to, and the partner that you would move on to is obviously going to have a lot of qualities of your ex,
of the person you're still in love with.
Whether you want to admit it or not. Like the next because why would you fall in love with the person that you're with currently? You're going to fall in love with those same kind of elements in the next person. So I think it's just a metaphorical way of showing, like this is still the same person, but she just has like slightly better qualities because Helen specifically is like, she's more caring. She's obviously there for Bob a lot more, which is what Sam Neill is looking for, above all.
Somebody to raise his child.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Right. Yeah. I mean, as misogynist and, uncaring as what his, thoughts are, but that's what Mark is looking for in a partner. So they're in and out of the apartment a lot. And you get a scene where Anna like cuts up her own neck with a carving knife, like an electric carving knife. Yeah. And this is after she's wrecked that truck, and she comes in and she's like, she has this energy about her where she's just kind of like bouncing through the apartment, and then she just starts cutting up meat and she starts grinding meat, and she's like completely distant. She's like off in another world. And like Sam Neill's like freaking out and yelling at her, and like he's like, "What do you want? Tell me what you want. Why won't you tell me?" And he's like, "Are you afraid that you won't like me anymore?" And she's like she's just nodding and shaking her head as responses. Like he's not even necessarily looking at her for the responses.
Yeah, and I don't know. I just don't know for you guys, like who, like I don't know what significant breakups you guys have had though too. It's like, but again, going through a divorce that was amicable, but also just like there was very controlling elements, and like at a certain point, like you have this thought of like, there's no way out of this. There's nothing else I can do here. So like you almost have this like haze, and that's all I saw in like scenes like this, that I'm just like, she's going insane because like he's not changing any aspect or seeing the situation from any other perspective. And so the only thing that can be done is like, I'm just going to live in this like alternative universe, and then maybe even just like hurting myself is also the only other alternative.
Yeah, she's just like she's just like disassociating completely.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, and she disassociates to the point that she hits herself in the neck, with the electric carving knife. And then like as soon as she does that, like he's immediately right there to take care of her and like bandages the wound, and like so like he's switching on and off of being like somebody who is like he wants to care for her, but also like he's like out of his mind with like wanting to get rid of her, wanting like he's always constantly daring her to leave. If that's what you want, just do it.
Yeah,
but
no
like,
one can. It's like there's a Band-Aid that's on. But he's not giving her any
space to do it. Like it's just
right,
like,
exactly.
It's another fucking game. This is what the whole this whole thing, why it's called Possession 2. It's like these really fucked up games.
Yeah,
it's like you can't leave because I won't actually let you leave because I'm going to like stalk the fuck out of you and be insane. Sorry.
But well, no, you're exactly right though.
Again, it was triggered a lot. Sorry guys if I'm acting like responding. All I want to be like is, girl, get the fuck out of there. Like,
well, and then she like pulls. I kind of viewed like the whole like cutting herself with the knife thing as like she kind of pulled the fire alarm because things were just getting so crazy, and she couldn't tolerate his bullshit any longer, and she was trying to just disassociate because she was just in survival mode, and then she was just like, I can't do it anymore, and she just like I said, she just pulled the fire alarm. Like, okay, this is going to trump everything that's happening, and this is going to take precedent, and it's going to make him stop, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like a suicide attempt or anything like that. It was more like, I'm just going to hurt myself, so then you have to pay attention to that.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, you have to pay attention to that.
I can mildly see that. I just I just don't know if I don't know if I see it that way. Again, I don't think we need to go into semantics of like breaking this down, because we could probably talk about it for a while, and I'm happy to if you guys want to. But I don't think I saw it that way. But I can understand from a different perspective, especially like knowing you, like seeing it from that perspective.
Yeah, there's a lot open to interpretation, obviously, depending on what your experiences in life have been. You may associate more with Mark, you might associate more with Anna. It's that's what makes this film great, is that like it has
drunk before we even hit Re-Animator is what I'm saying right now.
I'm pretty sure Brian set you up. Jumping ahead from that, though, in the meantime, Mark has hired a private detective, and we already talked about this. This is like the worst spy chase in history, because like this detective is following Anna around because Anna's not spending her time at Heinrich's, so she's going to a secret third place. So Mark has hired this private detective from his agency. He's following her around, and it's like the most obvious following. There's only like two people around. Sometimes there's a wino involved.
Yeah,
and like
he's wearing
like like some sort of like weird spy music.
Yeah,
he's wearing like a pair of glasses that have like a nose and a mustache on them.
Oh,
right.
Fuck yeah.
Right.
Holes cut in the newspaper.
And Anna leads him to this like fucking rundown, like shitty part of town. Like everything gets even gloomier and grosser somehow. There's like graffiti everywhere. And the chase gets comical to the point that like she's running down the street and he's matching her speed. But then like she ducks into a building and then like he runs into the same building and like has to run up the stairs past her as like, I was doing this the entire time. I meant this.
Well, that's the thing is we'll show like from her perspective and he's right behind her. But then they zoom out and he's like 20 yards back.
Yeah. Yeah. Like it's just ridiculous the way it plays out, but it's funny. It's a short bit of levity. But from there, that's when you start to, this is when things really go south. And Anna kills this guy as he's wandering around the apartment saying he's looking for broken windows. He's like some sort of building inspector or whatever. He comes up with
say like he was a neighbor, like a window broke and then a glass came down on his place or something. I forget. He
said somebody outside filed a complaint. I think he plays himself. Okay. I think he plays himself off as like either a super or a manager of the building.
Yeah,
which she would have known. Like, yeah, but yeah, he's bopping around the apartment, checking the windows.
Wrong knows to have worn to this apartment, you know.
But yeah, she is playing this little coy game of like trying to keep him out of certain rooms, but eventually she just gives up. And he goes into this dark room, and you don't really see it very well what it is, but there's something squelchy and wet and bloody.
Squelchy.
Yeah.
It's a good word.
Yeah. And then the detective is rather horrified by it. He tries to back out, and she stabs him in the neck with a fucking bottle, which also is kind of funny because she's in the kitchen. She's trying to tempt him with wine. He walks away from her. Mm-hmm. And then she just goes, oopsie, broken, and drops the bottle.
Yeah.
Like,
oopsie daisy.
This whole sequence is like, it's darkly funny for, whatever reason, but
because divorce is really funny. We gotta make fun of ourselves and make fun of our pain. That's how we survive. I'm just joking. It's also true.
From there, this is where things like start going off the rails, though. Like you get a sense of like, oh, there's something really weird and gross going on. Back at the apartment, Sam Neill is confronted by Heinrich, and Heinrich is fucking drunk and or high off his ass and just
he's all gooned up.
He's just like spinning around in the hallway.
He's just like a cartoon character.
Yeah, hilariously. And like he's trying to figure out like now Heinrich's hurt the fact that Anna isn't spending her time with him. And like this is one of the few times where Mark is actually calm. Because he finally gets the upper hand on Heinrich.
Right.
Because this is also at the exact same time Helen has showed up to the house. And like he starts kind of taking her in as the surrogate for Anna. Like the replacement. Mm-hmm. So like this scene, Mark kind of has everything. He has somebody to take care of Bob. He feels like he's getting over Anna, and he has a leg up on Heinrich.
Yeah.
And like Heinrich's just like bopping around, losing his mind.
Yeah. And he's like talking himself into like, oh, I fixed this.
Yeah. Yeah. He's like, I'm good now. Everything's good. You know, Heinrich is hurt. I have a new wife mom. You know, but you know, obviously he'll betray himself, you know, because he just can't stop himself. Whatever it is about him, he can't stop himself from, you know, chasing after Anna and wanting to be with her and, you know, needing her for whatever reason.
It's that bomb ass pussy, bro.
Yeah. Well, she got crazy pussy.
She got a damn snapper. Them French girls.
She got French girl gorilla grip.
Bon appetit.
We see the lover of the detective who was killed. He shows up, and he also wants to find where his detective boyfriend is, and he goes to the apartment. And this scene is probably the one that, I mean, obviously really cements how kind of just off her rocker Anna is, in that it's no longer necessarily about Mark or Heinrich or any of that, because the way she's interacting with this think he's another spy because he knew how to find Mark and everything. So I think he's a spy at the agency.
Oh, okay.
But his boyfriend is the detective.
Yeah.
But just the way she interacts with this guy, she almost is like looking around like she's blind, but the way she looks around, she looks through everybody. And it's like she's in this, very close knit, discussion with this detective, and she's just looking through him. Mm-hmm. But he is like looking directly into her, and he's like terrified by what he sees in her.
Yeah.
And then we see the squid monster in the background. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And like, it's like, oh, okay, things are going really bad. Things aren't great. And then he gets killed,
there's
obviously.
A damn squid monster.
Yeah.
You gotta watch out.
Damn squid monster. He tries to shoot her. She goes fucking bonkers and like kills him.
And she ends up shooting him, doesn't she?
Oh yeah. She shoots him 3 times. Yeah. She shoots him 3 times. It's hard to tell, like, and this is one of those things about like the interpretation is like he gets a shot off at her, mm-hmm. and it's like, did he hit her or not? Because like they're pretty close proximity, mm-hmm. but he only shot once, and then like she didn't go down or anything. So it's like, did he actually hit her? Is she like under? What kind of possession is she under? What kind of control is she under?
Yeah,
yeah. But it's after this part that we get a look back. And Heinrich has left a film reel at Mark's doorstep. And the film reel is like this. Essentially, the film turns into a fake, like Luke Goddard, cinema verite film for a minute. Mm-hmm. Because we get a peer into the life that Anna and Heinrich were sharing together. And it's like 2 scenes. One is in a ballet studio. And in this scene, like Anna is a lot more focused. She's like mm-hmm. teaching ballet students. She's doing it in a very like aggressive manner. Yeah, she's like basically like torturing these poor she's teaching like young girls ballet. Yeah, she's stretching them out like Bob Backlund, man. Mm-hmm. Yeah, she's giving the goddamn crossface chicken wing. Yeah, but the way she's going about it, like. Every other time we've seen her, she's like been erratic. Her eyes have been wide. Like she's like baring her teeth a lot. But in this scene, she's like very focused. She's very dour. Mm-hmm. She's just like she explains directly to the camera. Again, back to the scene with the other spy is like she was looking through him. Yeah. But like in these scenes, she's looking right down the barrel of the camera. So mm-hmm. she's making direct eye contact with us as an audience. Yeah. And so everything becomes a lot more focused. And we see the way she was before she left Heinrich for the squid monster, mm-hmm. So like we kind of see the way she is with him. And then I think that's what kind of leads Mark to understand like what the trip is. I don't. I mean, again, this movie is a lot's left up to interpretation, but, mm-hmm. I can't help but wonder how many of these things are actually happening. Right. Versus, mm-hmm. It's like when we talked about A Field in England, like a lot of this stuff ain't happening. It's just happening in certain people's minds. You know what I mean? Or it's their interpretation, or it's how their brain twisted things to make the way they feel make more sense. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And like, the whole how would like the whole film reel thing, like mm-hmm. None of that. I don't think any of that happened. I think it did. You think so? Yeah, I think the film reel happens, but what it's the next 2 or 3 scenes that are more likely to have not happened, or at least not happened the way we see them. Yeah. Like I think like, yeah. Go ahead. I was going to say, like the scene in the ballet studio. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't know that ever happened. I think by the fact that we see Heinrich behind the camera, because the scene starts with him filming a mirror. So mm-hmm. we see his reflection in the mirror. We see all the kids in the ballet studio, and we see Anna there as well. I think just the fact that we see it all, I'm betting on it being something that actually happens.
See, I thought it as like, okay, so Heinrich has now become this, because before he was just this kind of nebulous character that represented something to Sam Neill's character that was what he couldn't be. He was superior to him in every way.
Right.
He was better at fucking. He was better at fighting. She wanted him. She didn't want Sam Neill. She wanted this guy. And he's just like physically and emotionally and spiritually and, everything is superior in Sam Neill's mind. So like in my, this gets back to like my overall like arching theory about this, which maybe is a little bit out there, but is that like everything, including stuff that doesn't include Sam Neill, is all just in Sam Neill's brain. Like that's kind of what I think is happening in this movie. And so like Heinrich going from this suave, debonair new age man to kind of like a super almost infantile, vulnerable person that's now on Sam Neill's level. Now that he can see Heinrich like that, now he can fabricate this thing of what she means to Heinrich. You know what I mean?
Right. See, I think, I don't completely disagree with you, but I think there's a scene in here that really cements the fact that, and it's later on.
Yeah.
There's a scene that cements the fact that like, even though Sam Neill's character always saw Heinrich as this thing, this unachievable thing, it's when Anna stabs Heinrich.
Yeah.
That Anna
this movie contradicts itself in so many places that like at some point I just was like, I threw logic out the window and just was like, no, you know what? No matter how much this doesn't make sense, I still think this is what happens, because it's like I don't have to prove it now because the logic is so contradictory to itself on purpose so many times.
Yeah.
I think I can agree that all of that can happen, but I feel like I kept finding ways that were like oddly symbolic on like an emotional scale. So like even with like Heinrich being stabbed could somehow like bring his character down to like Sam Neill's character's like same level. So like again, so it could be aiding in the argument about like this is all in Sam Neill's head to a certain extent, or we might think that part of the movie is in his head through his perspective of how this like breakup's going versus Anna's. You know what I mean? So like she's seeing herself as like this like newly independent, like almost like overtly powerful person, which can probably seen in many different ways. Whereas like he's seen as like he's seeing these moments of like how his brain is tricking him into thinking that like she's finding someone better, so I'm no one. But then all of a sudden, like Heinrich's being brought down to his level. It's like, oh, yeah, he's just another one of her toys or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like I can still see these themes of like based on my brain. My filter has like can see that it's definitely confusing and I think very surreal, but I feel like I put the picture together and understanding what's going on.
So yeah, we're going to jump back just a little bit. So it's after Sam Neill watches the film reel, and this is where I think we get into the levels of like what is he perceiving correctly, because Anna comes into the apartment again and she is just like a whirling dervish. Through the apartment. Like she's just like pulling shit off shelves, stripping fucking the bed sheets for whatever reason. And like at the whole time she's like moving her hands in like this weird conjuring way of like, she looks like she's both trying to cast a spell and rip bugs from her skin. And he gives none of that any attention. Like the entire time she is like moving in this insane erratic way that like we haven't even seen before. And like, again, her eyes are wide. She's baring her teeth like an animal. She's just like completely off her rocker, but he isn't paying any attention to that. So like in this scene, it could be very much like, is he seeing what we're seeing? is what she's doing, is that just like what she's feeling on the inside that we're seeing, projected outwards actually. But she gets into telling him like she tries to tell him essentially what's going on with her in a way. And it cuts from her like losing her shit on the couch with him. And like, again, he's kind of cool and collected in this scene.
Yeah, he's only content when she's vulnerable.
Right.
And she and when she's seems not vulnerable, he's losing his mind. So like that's why I kind of thought of like he's not like, I don't know. It's beside the point. Go ahead. Sorry.
I mean, you're right though. Like anytime he feels not in control, but in this scene, she's so out of control that he can't be anything but in control. He thinks he's won as well. Cause I mean, he's scared off, Heinrich and everything. So he thinks he's won at this point. But yeah, she goes on to tell, like, you get this like hard cut to Jesus Christ. And it's like, oh, hey, Jesus.
Yeah.
And she's like,
we already said we're going to kill him. Let's fucking get the stakes out, guys.
We're going to kill God. We're just going to threaten Jesus. Like, but
send the message.
You get this great framing of like, she's looking up at the crucifix in a church. And she's just like almost like whimpering like a dog or like some sort of like hurt animal. And she's essentially daring / begging Jesus to fucking do something. Like do something about her situation.
Yeah.
And, because, it's allegorical, but it's, like, the statue doesn't answer, obviously.
Yeah. It's almost like she's like an injured animal. Like she's caught in a snare or something like that.
Right.
And she's looking at him for like assistance.
Yeah. It's like,
or mercy or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like half daring, half begging, half, just like do something. And then nothing happens.
Yeah.
And then she leaves the church and goes on to have the grossest miscarriage, this side of a New York City subway.
Or the most brilliant miscarriage. I don't know if we would say the grossest. I think it was like a brilliant and oddly, I want to say poetic fucking scene. Like,
it's a full on interpretive dance. Like it's it's amazing.
It's
scene.
Amazing, honestly.
Yeah, it's an scene.
I still want to call it gross,
Well, it's gross because
I'm on Anna's side, guys. No matter what,
it ends with milk and blood and ecto cooler coming out of all of her holes. So
that's not even
I'm
holes.
done drinking
like
that
behind her, like it's coming from her hair. I think. Like it's just.
Well, there's pumps in her. Yeah, it's coming from everywhere though.
Yeah, it's just blood and milk, and it's just like. I mean, I guess it's a miscarriage, but it's also like some sort of like maternal like reckoning that she's experiencing. But she's also
it could be.
Yeah. And this is why, and this again, I know this is a little bit far-fetched, but like it's not consistent with her character up to this point. And like this scene doesn't make a lot of sense to me unless you portray it as something like it's Sam Neill's fantasy almost like revenge fantasy,
right?
Not sexual fantasy, but
right,
as a like she's finally coming to terms with the fact that she's done everything wrong and she's a bad mother and now she is experiencing like she now knows what she's done.
Yeah. So
okay.
Well, I was just gonna say. So this is why this scene works is what your theory is, Brian, about like if it's not it's how Sam Neill experiences things, but it's also how it makes the film reel because when we see Heinrich's film reel, everything's a lot more calm and demure, like calculated the way Anna behaves. The miscarriage scene is the way she's telling it to Sam Neill. So there isn't a physical record. It's just the way she's telling it, and it's the way he is imagining it happening.
He's got a fucked up filter. Let's just talk about that.
Right, yeah. Yeah, obviously has a fucked up filter. So like, yeah, that's what he's seeing. That's what he's imagining. He's imagining all this pain and gloop and glop and like, you know, she's bouncing off the walls of, you know, a dirty ass subway. Yeah.
Right.
But yeah, like, yeah, it cements in him, you know, what he imagines, you know, she's going through. Or, I mean, hey, we can take it at face value and she had a weird fucking miscarriage and because she's also involved with the damn squid monsters.
Yeah, no, I definitely can foresee, like, if this is all being like portrayed through Sam Neill's like filter, that being on point. I guess I saw in that scene too is like even this moment of like not even like redemption, but then just like having that inner conflict of it being such a painful moment, because she could have been very well describing to him like as being this very traumatic situation, because I think in most cases miscarriages can be very traumatic for people, that like this is like her second chance. You know, she might have saw like this new life ahead of her, and then she gets a miscarriage. And then all of a sudden it becomes this very traumatic experience where like she may be even questioning herself. Yeah. Like, well, you know, I think oftentimes that can happen too.
Yeah.
So.
Well, yeah, and even to be more clear about it, like she says what happened is she had a miscarriage of faith. So it's not like a miscarriage of an actual child. She's having a miscarriage of faith. Like her faith and hope have died within her. And like she's just now like having, you know, because again the scene that preceded that is, you know, God rejecting her, essentially not helping her, taking care of whatever her, you know, wishes were. So yeah, I think it's, again, it's more metaphorical, but again, what, you know, what we could be seeing is the way Sam Neill imagines the way her faith dies, in, you know, in a gooey puddle. We can jump forward. To Heinrich being stabbed. It's after this scene that Heinrich. It's after Anna leaves, after relaying this miscarriage story. Heinrich calls again, and Sam Neill sends him to the apartment that he's been sending everybody to. You know, he knows where Anna is hiding, but he's like just doesn't go. But he sends everybody else, and nobody comes back because she kills everybody. Yeah. But yeah, she sends Heinrich, or he sends Heinrich. Heinrich confronts her, and she stabs Heinrich. And this is the scene where, like, Meg, you mentioned it before about this is how she's taking her power. And the way I looked at it is she sought out Heinrich because he offered something for her. And Heinrich is this, you know, again, hippy dippy spiritual guy. And he offered like this, you know, here's spiritual power that you can find this way, and we'll find it through sex and drugs and and we'll expand your mind that way.
And you can find a lot of things through sex. I don't know if like a higher thing is really it though.
I don't know. Some people see
God.
God.
Have sex with Dale Earnhardt?
You ever have sex with somebody in a Dale Earnhardt t-shirt?
Yeah. You haven't lived yet.
If you ain't rubbing, you ain't racing.
No, when you first said that was like how Steve fucking said that. That's exactly what my mind went to.
If you ain't rubbing, you ain't racing.
Yeah.
Intimidator. Number 3 forever.
But yeah, like she stabs him and essentially tells him like, you know, I'm beyond you now. Because like the whole time she's been lamenting like she is the cause, she is her own destructor, she's the cause of her own evil, but like she also has her own power. And like in this scene she's telling Heinrich like, I have my own power over you. I'm beyond whatever bullshit you were trying to peddle to get me to stick with you. I don't care. Yeah. So I think that's when she's really just cementing herself as like she's made her decisions to be with the squid monster and, you know, foster that relationship. And
The squid monster seems to be offering her a lot. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, apparently he's an insatiable lover.
Monster too.
Squid monster is an insatiable lover.
Okay. Well, then maybe there is a lover out there that will, make me want to change my ways, make me want to live a better life. I'm taking applications.
Yeah. Any squid monsters listening out there?
Yeah.
Where
I
are
think
my squid monsters at?
I think you have to create the squid monster. I think that's the tale of it.
You have to manifest the squid monster, which you could probably get done.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, vibrators are great too.
Sure.
I'll call my vibrator the squid monster.
The squid
Cool.
The squid monster.
Just having a night in with the squid monster.
I'm sure there's like some sort of vibrator dildo mix that has like a bunch of tentacles. I know this exists. I watched, someone showed me earlier today that there is an asparagus dildo out there. So
No fun.
these are the conversations I have with coworkers.
Healthy.
Yeah. Great. The old Veggie Tales. Like there's no Christian trauma in those dildos at all.
Yeah. If you
There's
like
definitely
to
a video on
talk to
Pornhub
tomatoes.
with Veggie Tales,
Oh yeah,
but it's all vegetable dildos.
Veggie Tales fanfic, guys. Let's make it happen.
Let's make some money, guys.
Yeah. All right. So to wrap up the film, after Heinrich's stabbed, he gets Mark out to the dirty, dingy murder house. Mark investigates, finds that she's been killing people and storing bodies. He loses his mind about it. Mark explodes the apartment in a pretty fantastic way.
That was good.
And runs off. And then this is when Mark once again betrays everything that he said about like giving up on Anna, giving it away, because now he's actively like trying to cover up her crimes. He's trying to win her back by accepting the squid monster. He's like he just can't give up on her, whatever it is.
He's being a real cuck.
Yeah, he's being a cuck. Now this
Really,
is just straight up
wants
cuck
to
energy.
watch.
He's being a real squid cuck.
Yeah. And
Wait, can we say beta in this context, guys?
sure, you can call him a beta if that's how you're feeling, Meg.
I don't know. I'm just making sure I'm using it properly, guys.
Yeah.
Trying to learn from you guys.
We
betas.
we don't call anybody beta. Are you calling us betas?
Yeah, I was gonna say this was a you thing. You were the one who was like really leaning into calling people betas.
Yeah.
No. Which of what I'm saying though is I'm trying to learn from you two is making sure I'm using it correctly.
Okay.
Gotcha.
Okay.
You guys seem to be the experts on betas.
I see. You keep sneaking in these like little backhanded insults.
We still have to vote, right? Like,
yeah. Just because we know
So
like
do I.
a good amount
Which one
about
of you is going on
Pokemon.
my side? Which one of you guys wants to help me out here?
Meg's just Meg's negging us.
I know it's rude.
Yeah.
Guys, I don't think I've won. I maybe have won once since we started the new year. So
Well, now
this isn't
it's
about winning
2023,
anymore.
so nobody's
it's not about
won yet.
winning like the title anymore. It's just about winning.
Gotcha.
It's a whole other plane.
It's about just taking shots,
It's a fight. It's a fight with myself.
hurting people's feelings. If I can't win, I'll just hurt somebody's feelings. But
It's like the equivalent of pushing a kid down.
Sure.
Push him off a bike.
Being a bully, being a peckerhead. those are classic. That's classic show value.
Classic peckerhead Meg behavior. Yeah.
Classic peckerhead. Living up to the name, guys.
Yeah. But yeah, so Mark is covering up her crimes. He's trying to help her escape. We learn that the spy agency has been watching them the entire time and is pretty much aware of all of this. So he turns against the spy agency even to chase, whatever dream he has of being with Anna. And it gets him shot in a stairwell like an asshole. And then she gets shot in the stairwell. But not before revealing that the squid monster has been evolving and changing through this entire time and has turned into a more perfect version of Mark. a less sweaty, less beat up, less cut up, less shot version of Mark.
Less bulgy eyed, slower talking.
Yeah. So, yeah, again, we're reintroduced to the doppelganger theme, and the film ends with the doppelganger Mark getting some random woman to shoot cops, which is hilarious as he escapes.
Yeah.
And it shows up where Bob is with Helen, the Anna doppelganger, and Bob is terrified of letting that creature in because he understands like it's the worst parts of his dad. Like it's not even the good parts. He doesn't want it in.
Right.
And just so happens at that same time, World War III breaks out. Like the Cold War becomes a hot war.
Yeah. Yeah.
Bob's like, isn't that when Bob like goes and like hides in the bathtub?
Yeah. Bob essentially drowns himself.
Yeah.
'Cause
I thought there was one.
Or he was playing dead. I was so this is one of those things too, where I don't even know if it's fair to say that the movie is from Sam Neill's perspective as much as it's like a super literal interpretation of like a character study of an abusive, psychotic, gaslighting person.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's
because
both.
like
I honestly think it's like mildly both, like in
Yeah.
ways.
Because like,
Like, I don't know if I want to like separate the two.
yeah, but the only reason that I don't think like anything or very little actually happens from Anna's perspective or from, that's her name, right? Am I getting them mixed up?
Yeah, Anna. Yeah.
Anna's perspective is like, even at the end, when the quote unquote monster, which is like the squid monster that has evolved into the new perfect Sam Neill, is at the door. The thing that really cemented it for me is Bob is the only one that knows what his dad is truly like.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And then the girl who looks like Anna, who's played by the same character, the teacher, when she's basically like, don't let him in, she's like, she says something like, but I want to, or something, that is when he finally is recovered enough to victimize somebody else. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like he has killed that part of himself. Like he's a sociopath and he's killed that part of himself that was in love with Anna. Mm-hmm. And so now Anna is dead to him. Right. But he didn't do it. She did it to herself because he's a fucking sociopath.
Mm-hmm. And the only way she would ever do it is if she had some like alien fucking being that would like somehow take over and like almost control her too. Yeah. Like just exactly what he's doing. It's like a projection of it. It's like the only way she would do that is if like someone else like somehow was better than me or convinced her or like controlled her or like whatever to do that.
So like now he has killed that version of himself who was in love with Anna, and now he's ready to take on a new obsession victim, and all the air raid sirens and all that stuff is basically like the warning to the new victim, but she can't hear it because she's so enthralled with him because he's a fucking sociopath, you know, and does the things sociopaths do. And the only person that's present at that point that knows what's truly happening is Bob. And that's why he goes and runs in the bathtub and plays dead, you know?
Yeah. And you can even look at the way like the new perfect Mark is the way he's dressed is he has the blazer, but it's an open shirt blazer. So like he's exposing his chest just like Heinrich did. So like he's taking everything that he learned from Heinrich that made Heinrich better than him per se. Yeah. And now he's adopted it into himself. Yeah,
he's a sociopath. He doesn't have his own personality. He just takes on, cues from other people to get what he wants out of life. So like I took that as like he has done this. He has died and been reborn as a new monster an untold number of times.
Right. And I mean, and like you can, it's pretty evident in the way, like, again, the perfect Mark ascends out of the building while the dying Mark like just decides to throw himself down.
Well, he even says the new Mark makes the old Mark kill himself, because he even goes like, how do you want to do this?
Right. And then he throws himself like down the banisters and just, falls like, 7 stories or whatever.
So it's like, your time is up. I'm the new Mark. How do you want to do this? Because you're done. I'm the new Mark. I'm moved on.
New Mark is in town. Dork.
Yeah, fuck off, dork. New Mark's here. Open blazer Mark.
Hell yeah. making women shoot cops, Mark.
I mean, that's devotion.
So
if your
like
significant other won't shoot cops.
Oh wait, no, you need that gun.
Yeah.
But yeah, and there's a lot more to this film. Like I said, we probably could do a 2.5 hour episode on this shit itself. Like, we didn't get much into the spy agency and like what those kind of things mean. We didn't talk
or
a
the
whole
other
lot.
woman in Mark's life. What's her name?
Margie. Yeah, we didn't talk.
Yeah,
we didn't talk much about Margie. And then what is it? Oh yeah, and also just like the way religion plays a lot into this, because like we talk about how Heinrich is spiritual and then how Anna ascends from that, but then Mark has this very like atheistic view of like God is like a disease. He's a diseased dying dog. So we didn't talk much about that, but there's a lot of layers to this film, and you should go enjoy it yourself.
Yeah, this movie reminds me of like this is probably one of those movies that's kind of like the Velvet Underground of like cosmic horror, in that like not a lot of people saw it, but everybody who saw it went and made a movie kind of thing. Like, it's the guy. I think of this movie as like almost like the grandfather of like a lot of this like elevated A24 style horror movies.
Yeah. You can see influences there, and I'm sure like Cronenberg saw some of this and was like, oh, that's kind of gross. I'm going to add some of that in my own. Not that he wasn't already working and doing his own gross stuff, but I'm sure that, just peers having contact with each other.
Yeah.
And then obviously Sam Neill went on to make, 2 more cosmic horror movies himself. So, yeah.
Yeah,
good movie.
I like this movie a lot. The performances are incredible. It's a really interesting movie. There's a lot to discuss. There's a lot to unpack with it. Like, it is very nebulous and the kind of left up to interpretation. I think it's a little bit atypical in the cosmic horror subgenre, in that it does lack some of the hallmarks for me of and not that everything has to be this big giant unknowable truth or unknowable knowledge kind of thing, but like I think the one thing that I wouldn't necessarily immediately say this is atypical cosmic horror is it's kind of a small story.
Oh yeah.
Whereas like a lot of cosmic horror like starts small and expands out, And I think there's a tremendous amount of crossover between religious horror and cosmic horror. I mean, even I think for one of our religious horror movie, was it religious horror show that we talked about, Prince of Darkness?
Mm-hmm.
I would almost categorize Prince of Darkness more as cosmic horror than religious horror.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
But,
like you're saying, it hits both.
Obviously, huge religious themes, like it is both. But
thematically, that episode was actually Satanic Panic. So it was about just having Satan in it. So it wasn't about
Yeah, you're right. No, religious horror was older episode than that. But yeah, it's like just a really small story, and that's the one thing. Like a lot of my favorite cosmic horror is like even if it is a smaller story, the actions, discoveries, things that are happening in the story that are driving the plot have huge or potentially huge consequences for like outside of just the circle of characters. And this one is very insular in that way. Like it's almost more like emotionally cosmic, like the world, the the cosmic world that it exists in is just like within a couple people's brains, which you could argue is in itself infinite in some way. You know what I mean? You can make an argument. I'm not saying it's not. It's just a little atypical in that way.
And I think also just because it's, again, this is a film that like on your first watch, you don't know what's going to happen. Mm-hmm. So like it starts out even smaller than you think because it's starting out with just two people having a relationship that's falling apart. Then you learn how much farther and expansive like what Sam Neill is going to learn. Yeah. So like you obviously learn about the squid monster before he does. Mm-hmm. But like, there's this whole world that he doesn't even know about yet that will be revealed to him. Yeah. And then when it
almost reminds me more of like the squid monster is more like something you would see in like Naked Lunch than you would see that you would equate with like Cthulhu or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's not this uncaring ancient evil or like any type of scientific discovery or anything. It's more just like the monster is like this toxic partner.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And like the cosmic element is like the depths of like grief and heartbreak that.
Yeah, which I honestly just don't want to totally discredit with this film. That at the end of the day.
No, it's a wonderful film. Like, I just don't know that it's like super great example of cosmic horror.
I think what it just shows is the expansive nature of like what this subgenre can be. Because I think it could probably fit in a number of subgenres. Like even if we're talking about some sort of surreal like horror, but like I still think we have elements of that like existentialism, like we do get like a weird cosmic element, with like squid monster and stuff like that. Like there are things there that exist. The only thing that I would agree is that I think what was interesting though at the same time that I'll agree with is that this is a small story. It is taking one very specific theme and somehow making 2 hours out of it. But like, you're not completely bored throughout it. You're still just somehow just like hooked.
Yeah. And that's because
I'll give it that.
Yeah. It's because the performances are so big and because it is always building upon itself. So I'll say like the main parts of this, it's much more existential horror than like the sense of like futility that you get in other cosmic horror, but it's much more existential in that you see Mark in his refusal to accept what is like his existence, because he's constantly obsessing and chasing Anna. And then you see Anna in the way that she expands and accepts her existence, the way she builds it from her relationship with Mark, what she learns from Heinrich, and then the way she takes power over Heinrich and then is like building it into this squid monster by feeding it a bunch of fucking detectives.
Yeah, it's like the giant like unknowable old god kind of thing is like the ego, I guess, if you will. Like I said, I think it's a very unique take on cosmic horror, and there's like a lot of cosmic horror elements to it. But like, the whole like forbidden knowledge thing where you're like out in like where you feel like the characters are so far into the deep end and they feel in their own mind. They're never like completely out of their depth.
Yeah.
They're like in a world of their creation,
right,
instead of like something that is omnipotent out there that they stumble upon and they shouldn't have. You know what I mean?
Well, see, I would say Anna absolutely does, but it's the fact that we don't see the film from Anna's perspective. Because again, Anna goes through like these monologues about like faith and chance, and like faith has abandoned her, faith died. So she has to nurture chance when she can, and chance has like brought this knowledge to her. You know, she has the secret knowledge, but we don't know what she knows. She is learning more about herself. She's learning more about the world.
And I guess like motherhood too is probably part of the like forbidden knowledge thing there. Maybe like not only obviously Anna experiencing it for the first time, but also like Mark's interpretation of her coming to terms with her, like the tragedy of reproducing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know. It just feels like like I feel like I'm grasping to try to figure out where the true like cosmic horror themes are, you know?
Got it.
But fantastic. I mean, it's a fantastic film.
Yeah. I was already jumping in. I just wanted to talk about pickles.
All right. Eat your pickles. Because we're about to talk about, and get your ecto cooler ready, because we are about to talk
drink
about.
It, guys. Fucking already
crack
drinking.
another one, because we're talking about 1985 Stuart Gordon joint Re-Animator. This is one of my first, like, you know, aside from Halloween and The Exorcist and that sort of stuff, like when I first started to get into like, you know, peeling back the first or second layer of the horror onion as a kid, this was a movie that I discovered pretty early on and fell in love with and have been a huge fan of for a long, long time. And I have I've seen this movie a ton of times. I never get sick of it. It's always so entertaining to me. It is definitely not as like high. It is if possession is on one end of the cosmic horror cosmos, Re-Animator's on the other. It's a little bit. It's definitely sillier, schlockier. Not nearly as it's not particularly self-serious at all. In fact, there's some like stuff that happens in it that you're like, wow, that's pretty brutal, but it's played almost for laughs, not entirely. The whole thing is played very seriously, but there are like laugh out loud funny parts too. And I mean,
it would be deadpan. It's deadpan humor is what it is. Yeah.
It's Jeffrey Combs just acting his balls off. And this is his most well-known performance as Herbert West. And this is based on an H.P. Lovecraft story, as I'm sure you all know. Everybody knows Re-Animator probably, so I won't get too deep into that. But Stuart Gordon definitely known for his Lovecraft interpretations. But this movie was also one of his earliest. And also he was kind of a protege in a lot of ways of Brian Usna, right? Who produced, I think his only credit is producer on this, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I mean, he's a producer on this, and it's like a Brian Usna joint.
Yeah, but he doesn't have like a writing credit or anything on this.
No, but he does come up first.
Yes, he does come up first. So it's almost he's not name above the title. They do give that to H.P. Lovecraft because it's based very much on the story Herbert West Re-Animator. But the screenwriting credit goes to Dennis Paoli and William Norris. So two very notable screenwriters as well. But in any case, let's get into the cast, because I think that's where this movie shines. Is like four of the best fucking performances. Four of my favorite horror performances. You have almost the Abbott and Costello of Jeffrey Combs as Herbert West, which is the zany, deadpan, not zany. Well, he's zany, but in a deadpan kind of way, very dry.
He does zany things.
He does zany things. He doesn't speak in a zany way, but he says zany lines in a very deadpan way. As if you know Jeffrey Combs at all, you certainly know this performance, and he is a big actor. You know what I mean? And this one is like him kind of pulling it back to be this almost. I don't mean to say this.
I'll just ask, how did all of the Reddit incel community watch this movie and say, I should be that guy?
Yeah, I don't know. Because want to know why? Is because he's smarter than everyone and he knows it. And that's what all incels think, that they're smarter than everyone.
Yeah.
But also, we don't ever see him get pussy, so like
That's
he's
true.
also just good.
Well, he's almost asexual, which is weird for the incel community.
He's Volcel.
Like a lot. What's that?
He's Volcel.
Volcel. Yeah. Because he's almost asexual in that way.
What is that word?
Voluntarily
cellulite.
All right, guys, I learn new things every time I hang
But
out
like
with you.
in comparison, he is the brilliant, misunderstood, misanthropic nerd type character to the Bruce Abbott who plays Dan Kane. And Bruce Abbott is the kind of like, hunky, does everything right, does everything by the book, dating the dean's daughter, which is actually technically kind of taboo in this story for some weird reason. But in any case, he is he's the do right guy next door heartthrob, and Jeffrey Combs is like the misanthropic genius. So and so you get those two, and then you get the incredible listen, I'm not going to mince words, maybe my all-time biggest celebrity horror crush, one Miss Barbara Crampton, as Meg Halls. Yeah, I just adore Barbara Crampton. And she is listen, guys, I mean, I'm not going to mince words. She's on full display here. And she is a stone cold fox.
We do. She does get some nice boobs.
She does. It's the whole thing's tremendous. And then you get David Gale as Dr. Carl Hill, which is such a wild performance. And just this is the thing is you have this movie, which is one of my all-time favorite movies, but Re-Animator, Bride of Re-Animator, the sequel is just as good. Like I could have done either one. Bride of Re-Animator.
I watched Beyond after this.
Oh yeah, that's a big drop off. That's a big drop
Somehow
off.
that was like the next one that Tubi asked me to watch. It was like, do you want to watch this? And I was like, sure.
Okay, Tubi.
Yeah, no, watch Bride of Re-Animator. Bride of Re-Animator is also fantastic. Crazier, more over the top, certainly more polished, maybe not quite as charming, but even more batshit. Like this might be a little bit of an overstatement, but it's almost Gremlins versus Gremlins 2, the new batch a little bit, in terms of just like turned everything up to 11 and then snapped the fucking knob off, but it's great. Bride of Re-Animator is fantastic, but I figured I'd go with the OG here and talk about Re-Animator. So, so just a little bit. I won't go scene by scene here, but we'll because like I said, there's probably a lot of folks who have seen this movie, but first of all, I adore the intro to this movie. You get this cold open and you have no fucking idea what's happening. Like Jeffrey Herbert West. You don't know if he's like, he's there with like his mentor, which is another doctor. You have nothing explained to you yet. He does something. You don't know if he is victimizing the doctor in some way. But ultimately,
I like the opening in a sense because I feel like thinking I always go back to time and place. Like that would be a very shocking scene to like have something open to that you're now like, I do think they give enough in that scene where that Herbert West did something. Mm-hmm. You don't know exactly what, but he did something really fucked up.
Yeah.
And I think like the shock factor is perfect.
I love a movie that hits the ground running, and this one absolutely hits the ground running. There is not an ounce of slow play, slow burn in this movie, like in this movie's vocabulary. It hits the fucking ground running. I also love the aesthetic of those like colored anatomy sketches at the beginning, with this music over top of it that reminds me of like if Danny Elfman scored a Hitchcock flick,
which is it's Richard Band.
Yeah. He did the music for this. Yeah.
Charlie Band's brother.
Yeah.
I was gonna say who. What else? What is the relation there?
Charles Band, Full Moon, Charles Band.
Okay.
But so just to give you a little bit of idea about like this kind of yin and yang that is Dan versus Herbert. Like I said, very much go with the flow. The establishment kid is Dan. He's going through school, and then once he graduates, then he's going to marry the dean's daughter, and he cares very much about what people think of him, and he plays by the rules and all that stuff. And then you have Herbert West, which challenges the establishment from the beginning. Like, he's extremely ego driven. He knows he's like brilliant, but he just can't get out of his own way from an ego perspective. He definitely has this huge chip on his shoulder, and he is like, I would say, like, borderline. I mean, I don't know that this probably wasn't in the script necessarily, but I wonder if Jeffrey Combs like worked this into the character at all. But like, he's almost reminds me of like someone to be on the spectrum in terms of like the way he interacts with people.
Oh, for sure.
And the way he expects people to respond to what he does. But he's very skilled socially, but only when he needs to be, and he doesn't really care to be that often. You know what I mean?
I mean, it's on display no better than the scene where he decides he's going to move into the apartment. Yeah.
And he just comes in and goes, What, do we have a deal? We're going to move in.
Yeah. Do we have a deal? When should I move in? My bags are outside.
It's
just happening
right now.
Well, he's also like so overly pragmatic to a sense that like he can't associate effectively with people who don't have that level of like bare bones pragmatic nature. Like when he's so you get, the first time something's weird about him, Meg, who's Barbara Crampton, who is I should say she is the dean of the medical school's daughter, who Dan is dating, but they're kind of trying to keep it hush hush because apparently the dean is like this weird, I think they even describe him as puritanical or something like that at some point.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It's either her or Dan describes him as the last Puritan in the United States, and that's not true. But
so it's a little bit, but he is very like traditional, and he doesn't like, that his daughter would be kind of shacking up with some guy, especially, a student of his or whatever. So they're kind of keeping it on the hush. And anyway, he moves in, Herbert moves in, and he's like, you won't even know I'm here. I'm just going to use the basement as lab space or whatever. And so he does. And then she has a bad feeling about him right off the bat. Well, they come home and the cat is missing. They look around everywhere. They find the cat dead in the fridge. She insists that he killed the cat. What Herbert comes to, explain is that the cat got its head stuck in a jar and suffocated, and then he put it in the fridge. Ultimately, you learn because he wanted to do experiments on it. You're never really made 100% clear whether he killed the cat or not, but the assumption is he did not.
Killed that cat. Even if the jar thing could totally be true, but it was because he put the jar there and he's like, I'm going to put some catnip inside of it and then just let you get your head stuck.
See, I didn't think he actually killed the cat, but I think he could.
Really?
Yeah, because that would be too. Not that he wouldn't kill a cat, but that that's too inconvenient for him. He would understand the not particularly pragmatic nature of killing your roommate's cat.
But he's like super, I mean, I guess, okay, so I'm trying to think of the people he's like been willing to kill, and sure, Gail's character, like,
but only when he's backed into a corner or when he is
and
like,
it's for his own benefit.
Yeah.
But some
when
reason
you could go
I
out
could
and
see
kill
a
a stray cat, why would you kill your roommate's cat?
Yeah.
Because I could see an incomplete scenario where it's like this is convenient and opportunistic. I think
he's too logical for that.
I also can understand what you're saying.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm of the mind that he killed the cat as well. I think, and it might be just like one of the downfalls of this movie is that like things move a little too quick.
Yeah, it's just like it's paced very, like I said, it's paced very fast.
Yeah, and it's fine because it gets to the gags quick and everything, and that's great. Mm-hmm. But it's just like sometimes there could be more. There could just be a little bit more to develop relationships and everything. Because again, like we're already into the point where Herbert West has moved in. Because like it happens that quickly. Like he kills somebody in the Swiss Alps, shows up, and then is moved in. Like it just
Yeah. Well, then he also like shows up and he's like, you do get the scene of like, him like basically challenging Dr. Hill right off the bat and saying that because Dr. Hill, who is a professor, who is like the domineering professor and, the kind of grant winner of the medical school, or from the hospitals. It's a teaching hospital. He is saying that basically you stole all the stuff off of my, the person that I learned from, the doctor, whatever, from Switzerland.
Dr. Hans Gruber.
Yeah, Hans Gruber. And he's like, and you are, you're basically a fucking quack. And then so they're at each other's throats right from the beginning. But this is kind of speaks to, I think, or summarizes Herbert West's character in a really concise way, is like when they're like, why is the cat in your fridge? And they're freaking out. And he's like, I found the cat dead. I didn't want it to stink up the house. I put it in the fridge. And like to him, that's what you do with a dead animal. You put it in the fridge. But to a normal person, that would be like, yeah, that's fucking weird. Mm-hmm. And he's like, why didn't you reach out to me? He's like, what do you want me to do? Leave a note that says cat dead, details later? Like, that's such a great line. But so then he brings the cat back, and you come to learn that he has developed this what he calls his reagent, which is this kind of serum that when injected into, initially the brainstem, but then they do all kind of craziness with it, of a corpse, it reanimates the corpse. It brings it back to life, but not in the true sense of, but it conquers brain death, if you will, whereas like the brain continues to function, but it definitely, the subjects are not of sound mind or really have any type of strong like cognition. Anyway, great scene when he finally convinces Dan of what's happening is he comes downstairs and Herbert is being attacked by this cat, and there's this crazy scene of them fighting the cat because the cat's like super strong, because when they come back they oftentimes have like disproportionate strength, and ultimately Dan spikes the cat off the wall and then he reanimates it again to kind of prove to him the effects of the reagent. So and he was like, this is maybe one of my favorite lines. Herbert West has all the best lines in this, is when after he brings it back the in front of Dan and he's like blown away by what he's seeing. He's like, he was dead. And Herbert goes, twice. Such a great line. But yeah, Herbert is just so like ghoulish in nature. Mm-hmm. Like you can imagine like Jeffrey Combs, the way he depicts him, just coming straight out of like a Lovecraft short story. But Dan, being the Boy Scout that he is, goes to the dean and admits to what happened and explains that Herbert has, can bring, things back to life. And again, the dean is Barbara Crampton's dad, Meg's dad, and the dean basically expels them both and tells him to fuck off, and I'm taking your funding away. I'm taking your scholarship or your loans or whatever away, and you guys are both out of school and fuck you. So they kind of are desperate all of a sudden, and West is already like like I said, I'm kind of a misanthrope, kind of an outsider. So he's just like, this isn't going to slow me down kind of thing. But he, in his desperation, Dan gets suckered by Herbert into basically going into the morgue, because Dan works at the hospital and has access to the morgue, so that they can try it on a human corpse. Ultimately, the dean comes in. He ends up getting killed. A struggle ensues, but Meg comes in, and her dad is dead, but she comes in and he's all bloody, strangling both of them, because basically he gets killed, accidentally by the creature or the corpse that they've reanimated, and they picked a big muscle guy. Bad guy.
Yeah.
If you're gonna bring back a corpse, don't bring back like the biggest, strongest corpse.
I mean, the corpse picking scene is kind of funny because they're like just trying to find the right one. But then, they go with this big muscle-bound freak who... well,
they suggest that he's the freshest because they feel like that it's going to be more successful if the shorter amount of time it's been dead. And they keep saying like, oh, this one's rotten and all this stuff. But
so they're passing over burn victims. And I think they also allude to the fact that like this one just had a heart attack, which is like the only thing that happened to him.
He doesn't have he's not all fucked up, right. So he's like a good clean specimen, I guess. So they bring him back. He ends up killing the dean, and then Herbert is so apt at manipulating Dan in just like he can talk him into anything in the moment. And he always, like, being an absolute sociopath, he's just like, oh, the dean's dead. We should use the dean. He just died. We're never going to get a specimen this fresh unless we kill somebody. So let's fucking do it. And then he spins the whole thing to his, to his benefit. He does stick a bone saw through the chest of the muscle guy and kill him in this very kind of gruesome way. But ultimately they reanimate the dean, and great line because he's already, because he's already done all those experiments and he believes he's conquered death. Herbert has this like God complex already. Like he's already got this like delusions of grandeur thing going. And he even has all this like pomp and circumstance to when he reanimates people, even to the point where when he's talking to, or when he's about to reanimate the dean, he's like, you once did me a favor by letting me into your medical school. Welcome back to life. And he puts the thing in him. It's just like, he's so dramatic, which is like, it's just so, it just speaks to like the Lovecraft,
I think
dialogue.
In general, like his character just genuinely believes in what he's doing to the point of like he can change the world and kind of keep people from ever fully dying.
Yeah, he is very, and that's why he's almost becomes a anti-hero, is because he's so earnest. And probably Steve, why he appeals to the incel community is because like he has this like almost Punisher-y type of like, if you want to make an omelet you got to break some eggs type of mentality,
right.
But anybody with any type of moral compass would immediately understand that he's like a fucking sociopath and he's just justifying all this stuff to himself. But like if you're kind of like, if you have like a smooth fish brain and you're sitting in your parents' basement, jerking off to anime all day long, you probably are going to be like, oh yeah, he's a cool anti-hero.
Right.
You know what I mean?
He's the coolest. He snapped his pencil at that doctor and he told that doctor what's what. And then he saved those doctors' lives and he's the best.
Yeah, he's a cool guy.
He don't need no pussy. He just needs his work.
He don't need no pussy. He just needs science. Meanwhile, I've only been watching anime lately, so I'm not good on anime.
I just finished Chainsaw Man. That's a good one.
Yeah, I've been watching Demon City.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if you ever saw that.
Yeah, I remember that one.
Anyway, and also rewatching Attack on Titan for like the third time.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, and we're not talking anime here, guys. We're talking Lovecraft, the other incel thing. And they think, but anyway, so the dean gets sent to the asylum. He's reanimated now, but he's all gooned up because, that's what happens when you reanimate somebody. But they just think he's all whacked out poo brains. And then Dr. Hill, who is, again, like the hotshot professor who is at odds with Herbert, is kind of is very much creeping on Meg. He's got to be in his 60s and she's like early 20s. So it's like a very creepy thing. And he's kind of like keeping the dean, which is her dad, almost like hostage in the asylum kind of thing. You come to learn that he has lobotomized him so he can like kind of control him, but he's absolutely like holding it over Meg's head because he's trying to creep on her. But Dr. Hill shows up in the basement, of Dan and Herbert's house, in his basement lab, and basically admits that he knows the dean is dead and, that he brought him back to life. And he's basically trying to blackmail Herbert into taking credit for his discovery, which is the reagent. So he's like fully admitted, which Herbert gets a lot of satisfaction out of, him admitting that he's like a genius and has done stuff that he can't do. But he's also like, fuck you, I'm going to blackmail you and take your discovery. And Herbert West just goes, you're not taking credit for my discovery. And he sneaks up behind him, cracks him in the head, Wet Bandit style, with a shovel, cuts his head off, and then reanimates the severed head, which is so fucking great. I love this scene so much. He has him in like a pan, like it looks like a hotel pan. It's like one of those things that like you throw like dirty like instruments and stuff, gauze in, and when you're like performing surgery. But to me, it's having worked in the restaurant industry, it just looks like a hotel pan.
It's like a chafing dish.
Yep.
Yeah.
It is just a chafing dish. Yeah, for sure.
And then he sticks his head in that, and it comes back to life, and he's like talking to it, Yeah, and then Dan comes down and Dan he discovers what's happened, and again, Herbert just manipulates Dan so quickly, and then when he like leaves it alone, the body comes and finds the head, and I love the like violins in the scene, like the hectic like Hitchcockian kind of violins.
Well, isn't it that Herbert, he injects the head and he injects the body separately? And Herbert ignores the body because he figures because it's not attached. So the body actually knocks him out, and Dan finds him.
Oh, yes, that's right. He ignores the body. Yeah. Sorry, I skipped through that.
Hill is able to control the body.
Yeah, and Herbert was almost like because he's all about just like when he has the opportunity, he's going to experiment. So of course he's experimented on reanimating full corpses. He's like, can I do this just with a head? And it works brilliantly. But then he tries to do it with the body. He doesn't think he's going to get the reaction that he expects. The body creeps up on him, knocks him out. And then, that's when the body kind of like, you realize that the body and the head can act independently of one another. Yeah. It's like very cartoonish. Yeah, I love the head like getting annoyed with the bumbling like body.
It is so silly. I'm trying to think of like another film. Like I know I've seen something like that before.
How about there's definitely a bunch of examples. Hocus Pocus.
Hocus Pocus is one. I'm just trying to think if there's like an earlier version of like, a headless body just bumbling around.
There absolutely is.
I know. I just can't think of
one.
You know what dumb one I just remembered though? Fucking Scrubs. You ever watch the TV show Scrubs?
Oh, the show. Yeah. Kate loves Scrubs.
Yeah. JD always had fantasies of him separating his head from his body, so he could do diagnoses with his head, and then his body could be running around doing fucking trauma and triage.
Oh, guys,
dumb shit I just remembered.
But yeah, I love that he's like getting annoyed with it and stuff. And also the head like empties a bunch of like blood bags into the tray, and the head's like drinking it up through its neck almost like like it's like a fish that needs water or something. I don't know. But my favorite,
just constantly just like so satisfied.
Yeah, it's like it's delicious
he's
too.
In a
he's like
spa. Like he's literally at a blood spa.
Yeah, the head, Dr. Hill's head is just like
in a hotel
having a blast. Yeah.
Oh man, beer name or band name? Blood Spa in a hotel pan.
Blood Spa is already a movie.
But in a hotel pan.
Oh, Blood Spa in a hotel pan. Yes.
Yeah.
Blood Spa.
I
think it's Blood Spa, isn't it?
I believe there's Death Spa for sure.
Death Spa.
There is Death Spa. Sorry, Blood Spa
Death
might
Spa
be another
what
one.
I was thinking of. I was definitely thinking of Death Spa. Anyway, so my favorite like non Jeffrey Combs scene is definitely Dr. Hill putting a fake rubber head on his body and then carrying his own head in a bag to go into the morgue. It's so.
Can I interject one
Yeah.
thing? I definitely Googled blood spa,
Yeah.
and it's way too bougie for our taste.
The movie?
It's from what? No, blood spa as like it's a thing that exists.
A real life
and-
blood spa.
The first thing I'm seeing is there's a spa in Thailand that provides skin treatments based on your blood type.
Mm.
Oh, that's not that cool.
So
I can't like drink blood and get like rubbed down naked in blood. Like,
no, I'm not seeing anything else.
I thought like a blood spa would be the thing where they take the fucking really young people blood and inject it into your own blood. And you do doping.
Like some fucking Silicon Valley shit.
Yeah, exactly. That's what a blood spa should be.
It's just like a recreational transfusion.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No, I was thinking of Death Spa, which is actually a pretty entertaining, really stupid movie.
Cool.
But anyway, so this is probably the most infamous, scene in the movie, which is Dr. Hill's like headless body, essentially sexually assaulting, not essentially, absolutely sexually assaulting Barbara Crampton. It's pretty fucked up, but it's right. Honestly, it reminds me of like the infamous scene in Basket Case in a lot of ways, because it's like very like uncomfortable and like cringy, but it's also like really entertaining and almost like mildly funny, but not like haha funny and like, oh my God, you guys are actually doing this funny. And interestingly enough, and I meant to look into this beforehand, but I've always heard the thing that people talk about with this scene, which I did not confirm, but if any listeners out there can confirm this or not, maybe one of you guys know it too, is David Gale, who plays Dr. Hill. The thing I always hear about is that his marriage, real life marriage, like was allegedly like destroyed because of this scene in this performance.
Oh, wow. No, I don't think I've heard that, but that's, yeah.
Like his wife saw this scene, and it like his marriage ended like indirectly as a result of this scene.
Jesus.
Yeah. But yeah, maybe you can confirm that. But that I've heard that multiple people have told me that, or I've read that. Like it is a established, like, I want to say urban legend. It might be 100% true, but like I have not confirmed it, and done any research myself, but I've heard that multiple times. But yeah, so Hill, Zombie Hill explains that he's basically perfected this like method for doing lobotomies that, especially when like paired with the reagent, makes people into basically his zombies. So he's done this, like he's kind of laid a trap for Herbert and brings all these, these corpses to life, or maybe they weren't. I would assume they were corpses. Because they're all like in body bags, but he was like he was doing this before the reagent thing happened, before he discovered, Herbert's, had created this reagent. But in any case, there's just like a lot of bloody, naked struggling and wrestling and stuff. Just kind of fast forwarding to what happens is ultimately one of my favorite scenes too, is like in this big struggle, the Dean, who has been, killed, reanimated, lobotomized, crushes Dr. Hill's head, like just smashes it. But then his body goes kind of all wacky, and I assuming because of all the reagent, I don't know, but it's just this big, crazy, chaotic, kind of struggle scene with a lot of really great practical effects. And like I said, Bride of Re-Animator even takes the practical effects to an even more impressive level. But yeah, the whole thing is kind of like the whole thing, even though there's a lot of comical elements to it, the whole thing is played very straight. It's like there are parts that are very mean, but also simultaneously like strange and funny and gross also. But like, it still manages to be funny and just like supremely entertaining the whole time. But anyway, so ultimately one of the corpses in like the last couple of scenes is strangling Meg as they're trying to like escape the morgue in the basement, or the basement level where the morgue is. the elevator, and Dan runs and tries to save her, hacks up the reanimated corpse that's strangling her with an axe, but it's, apparently too late. Because she's dead, she's been strangled to death, and then the end, you get Dan basically making the decision in his desperation to save his love. He injects her with the reagent. She screams and credits roll. So it's a very Lovecraftian ending as well. It's a very dark, very what's the word I'm looking for? Not desolate, but kind of hopeless kind of ending.
Can you answer this?
Yeah.
Since I haven't seen The Bride of Re-Animator, is it basically the continuation?
Yes, in a lot of ways. Yeah.
I don't know if it was like a Megan reincarnated type situation.
Yeah, yes, in both ways, I would say.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of this ending because in a nicer movie, the way this plays out, it plays out that so just to jump back really to the beginning though, is this is a bookend because when we are first introduced to Dan, he is trying to save a patient's life and he can't.
Yes.
So this is the bookend of that, of now he has to do the exact same thing and try to save Meg's life. But
when the same thing happens.
But if this was a nicer movie, he would consider using the reagent, but then save her life, with the methods he learned as a doctor, as a regular doctor, not a fucking nutcase. But this isn't this isn't a nice movie, so they do it this way.
Yeah, and that's really like I said, this is, a lot of the that's another kind of element of the whole, cosmic horror genre is like, giving into the futility of human existence and ultimately just embracing the chaos, which is what he does in this instance. And it's like he tries to do everything right, and he's the empathetic, caring, very humanistic character that wants to save people and can't give up on trying to save people, even when the other doctors at the beginning are like, no, that like she's dead. It's just like a nameless, a woman on the gurney. They're like, you're a good doctor, but like you got to know when to quit, kind of thing. Like he's too caring, he's too idealistic, and all this stuff. And then you have the antithesis of that, which is Herbert, who is pragmatic to a fault, jaded, and just like completely naturalistic, and almost like just gives in to all of his baser instincts. Yeah.
Oh, and the other thing is, and like he announces it, like the reason why West is doing it, he doesn't care about people. He's just doing it to get his name in the books. Like he wants to
wants to be the guy who defeated death.
Right.
But and I think what's like perfect about this like bookend type situation is that this is the perfect like balance between, and like even that existential crisis within yourself of like, even within a moment, what's the nuts really has to be like, am I going to give in to this thing knowing that at the end of the day, I can't save everyone, but maybe I can. I think that's like that question within yourself is like a pretty big moment.
It's also this like,
and
I think there's another, like, I think one thing that you kind of hinted on there, it's like another very like dark, like nihilist, like I would say cynical, if not nihilistic theme is this idea of Dan in his idealism believes he can save everyone, and Herbert West, who is, the quote unquote bad guy, realizes that you can't save everyone. You just have to save yourself or what's important to you. So it's this like greater good versus being out for yourself type of thing.
But it's still interesting that Herbert West, in a sense, is creating something that could almost, in essence, save anyone.
Well, that's the thing too, is like that mentality, and maybe like this is part of that very like cynical nihilistic Lovecraft element. And like, that's why I think a lot of like cosmic horror has this hopeless aspect of it. And not just like hopeless, like, you know, The Mist hopeless, where just like everyone dies at the end. It's more like this idea that you can never overcome the forces of nature. So just take what you can get when you can get it. You know what I mean? So it's this, yeah. And the person who has the quote unquote less caring, more callous approach to things ultimately is the one that is successful in his endeavors, whereas the other person can't get out of the way. Like they can't let their conscience they can't get their conscience out of their way.
Yeah. Although, I mean, I mean, obviously because there's sequels, not, but like it's kind of implied that Herbert West is killed as well because like he tries to save his work.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, because all he cares about is his ego kind of thing. But yeah, in the grander, it's implied that he dies, but like if you just watch the first movie, you would assume that he's dead, but ultimately, you know, they did do a franchise and he doesn't die. He comes back.
All right. T-shirt idea. It's some HP Lovecraftian, like design, or even just using the font that's used on most of his books. But like says hopeless romantic. I just immediately, as we were talking, I just was like, oh wow, everything's hopeless. But what if he's a hopeless romantic?
That's a good one. Yeah, I mean, you should watch Bride of Re-Animator because
I will for sure.
It almost like, I mean, the character of Herbert West isn't as like Dan's character becomes more interesting in the second one.
Weird.
But anyway, yeah. So that, I mean, that's short and sweet. That's kind of where I'm at with Re-Animator. Yeah, like I said, movie I've seen 100 times. I think it hits on all the big themes of, you know.
Can we talk? Can I ask a question then too? Because I feel like it's good for us to keep these short and sweet as descriptors, but like, in your mind, based on like what you said, what are the things like? If you're the second choice, what are your favorite moments as far as like what really hits on this genre? Just like bullet points. You don't need to go into detail, but bullet points. You're like, this movie hits these 3 points or 2 points or 1 point.
Yeah. I mean, so the, you know, the unknowable or sacred or ancient knowledge thing, I think is a big part of almost all my favorite Lovecraft stories and like the genre as a whole, or the subgenre as a whole, is this idea that like humans have this instinctual and I mean, you even say like evolved desire to understand the nature of themselves and existence and creation and all this stuff, right? So they put all this shit into their society and pump it into their brains to understand, to try to make sense of their existence. Sure. Whether it be God or what happens after you die or how you should live or whatever. But we can't. We never have, we never will. You know, humans aren't meant to know these things. But in cosmic horror, they get a peek under the tent. And they can't deal with what they see because they're not equipped to do that. It's like trying to explain the internet to a dog. You know what I mean? So like we as humans can't comprehend, nor should we ever be given the ability to conquer death. But in this instance, in this fictional instance, we're given a thing that just brings you back to life, but it results in cosmic chaos. Right. And I think this, like that is obviously very much on display here. I think there's a lot of Lovecraft stories that it's less scientific. It's more, not spiritual, but like, you fall down a hole, you find something in the hole you shouldn't find that explains the nature of it, or it answers some questions and it normally presents as many new questions as it answers. You know what I mean? But that's like one of the hallmarks of the subgenre of not just like weird fiction and cosmic fiction, but obviously cosmic horror films. I think the other thing is like the futility and the like running against a brick wall that humans are programmed to do and will always do. And in this instance, we're all going to die. Everyone's going to die. We're not equipped to be able to understand that. So it's terrifying. So we go to such grotesque lengths to alleviate that fear. And obviously that's something that's, you know, in every scene of this movie, I would say. And then, yeah, I mean, I guess those are the I mean,
big, you definitely hit some points. I think those are great points.
Those are the big 2 or 3 that you see a lot in this movie, I'd say.
Cool. You got anything, Steve?
I'm not going to help him out. I'll say the one thing about this film is if you go into it without having a background in Lovecraft or having a background in cosmic horror, I don't think those themes are going to hit you quite as hard because it's a little, I mean, it's pretty jokey. It's pretty fast moving. You don't have a lot of time to ruminate on those things. And even the characters themselves don't spend a lot of time ruminating on it because, like I said, you have Herbert West, who is like he's out for just the fame and fortune. He's not really thinking about what he's doing. Hill becomes like a fucking arch villain. He's not. So like,
to your point, Steve, do you think, do you have any reflection on like if the book was this humorous in a sense? I'm just curious.
No,
I don't know if either of you guys know.
This
right. So they took definitely liberty on there.
Yeah. And I would say like I agree with Brian and so but like
sure.
I think I would think this is more of a lesser work in the cosmic sense. I think it just gets thrown in there because it is directly from Lovecraft. But like Re-Animator, there's the other one where like there's the dying doctor in the apartment below. There's the zombie who doesn't know he's a zombie. Like those are Lovecraft works that are like they're kind of cosmic horror, but I think like the bigger stuff like in the Mountains of Madness, you know, where you really run into
Dagon-y type of thing.
Yeah, exactly. Where you really run into like, oh God,
old God shit. Yeah.
Like, oh, what the fuck is this world around me now?
Yeah. Those things are just like, you don't see those in film adaptations as much because some of the Lovecraftian stories, like one of my favorite ones, and I haven't read it in a while and the name is escaping me right now, but there's a story and it's part of the larger Cthulhu mythos and even ties into like the Dagon stuff is like this one where this guy is like walking on this like desolate beach or whatever, and they realize that like the beach that he's walking on is like this giant living breathing thing that's like this, you know, giant old god sea monster thing. Like that would be so hard to make into a movie,
right?
You know what I mean? But like these smaller, tighter stories are you know, for a low budget horror movie are a little bit more doable. So that's probably why you see that a little bit more.
It's also just in general hard to like put on screen very internal thoughts. So like the color out of space is something that you're supposed to really reflect upon. And like when they did it as a film with Nick Cage,
it's just like, oh, creatures that glow.
It's cool. I mean, it's cool.
It's cool.
It's a good movie, but like, I don't think you spend as much time reflecting on the horror of your wife and child being fused as one, you know, you just go, ooh, gross, icky.
Well, that's why I like, and I would say, like two things that you mentioned. One is I agree that like, if you don't really, if you're not a fan of like weird fiction and horror, like cosmic horror writing, because like I said, this subgenre takes better to a literary environment than a film environment, just because of such the big the big nebulous ideas. So if you don't have that background or haven't read a lot of that type of stuff, then you could absolutely just breeze right by that. But I think that's what's so great about it is it's so universally easy to appreciate, because you can just appreciate it for the fun practical effects and the zany characters and the gross out, gore stuff and the great lines.
Right.
And they try to, and Jeffrey Combs does, I think, a fantastic job. And like, people sometimes give him a hard time for being a really cartoony, almost overactor, not almost an overactor in a lot of movies. But like this, I just feel like he just communicates it so well, because you get the idea that Herbert West has thought at great lengths about what, like when you said he doesn't really think about what he's doing in the moment, he might not, he's very reactive, but you get when he has all these like grandiose statements he makes, you can tell that he is, sat in his incel basement and really ruminated on what he has accomplished, but in a very self-serving way.
Right. Yeah. He's reflecting on how this is going to look for him, but he's not reflecting on the bigger picture of like, what does it mean to cure death? He's reflecting on what does it mean for Herbert West to be the guy who cured death?
Well, he's also like, he's that type. And I think it's like that super motivated, like sociopathic level motivation that you have to be like unbelievably successful in something that you do, is that he does not care. Everything outside of his desire to achieve this monumental achievement, good, bad, or indifferent, really doesn't matter, because achieving and progressing and moving forward is the most important thing at any expense.
Yeah. And
he's
And I think that's something we'll see with the character of Dr. Samuel Weir in the next in the film Event Horizon.
yeah, very much so. So, all right, let's jump into it. Yeah, go ahead, Meg. Let's talk about that flicky. Yeah.
Is it my turn now?
Yeah, sure is.
Sick. Guys, Event Horizon, a classic from 1997, directed by Paul W.S. Anderson. This movie is pretty incredible. I remember the first time I watched it, just like from the beginning, it's just like immediately, it's just a very jarring film, and like hits you with just a lot of like very spooky moments that you weren't expecting. But basis of this movie is, which is kind of crazy to think about, a movie that came out in 97 basing a horror film in the future and thinking that 2047 is like the future. And that's only,
didn't they say like 2015 they started like colonizing Mars or something?
It's the first
like
moon
that.
base,
Like
and we're right past that.
Moon, the moon.
Yeah, like, these are like weird things to like.
This
to
also
watch it now.
is like, I don't think this is a coincidence. This is the same year that the movie Trucks came out.
What the fuck?
Sorry, I couldn't help it.
Just derailing. Don't let him derail you like that, Meg.
So I was actually ignoring what he said. I know it had to do with Trucks, which is also a great film. I'm not going to let it derail me though. So basis. So we're talking 2047. There's a distress signal picked up in this like BFE Neptune, because I can say that because this is 2047 and apparently we've already colonized Mars. Elon Musk, get on that if you're going to, you piece of shit.
You piece of shit.
You piece of shit. I'm again trying to get traction, trying to get us some money maybe in the future. Yeah. By talking shit on.
Use your bully powers for good, Meg.
Yeah, I will.
Bully that fucking dork into sponsoring us with his SpaceX dollars.
Well, no, it's going to be the people who also hate him. We're like, yeah, let's throw money at these bitches because they're on the same page. So this rescue vessel, Lewis and Clark, which I find to be very interesting of a name, but we won't dive into that, is dispatched to investigate. But somehow Dr. Weir, played by Sam Neill,
Mm-hmm.
who we also saw on Possession,
Mm-hmm.
is also on the ship, which is completely like throwing the entire crew off. And Captain Miller is just like, this is a very awkward situation. He's just not for a rando being on a ship.
Well, he designed the ship that they're going on the.
And we didn't, I don't think we fully knew that until like we saw it. Like, or we kind of like slowly learned that after they went through their stasis period where they were like asleep for 56 days.
Yeah, they had to get there.
It didn't seem to be completely, it was not revealed immediately.
No,
but
you're right.
I don't want to like totally dim against like this entire crew or entire cast for this movie, which we obviously have Sam Neill playing Dr. William Weir. We have Lawrence Fishburne playing Captain Miller.
Larry,
Bad
good old
Mother.
Larry Fishburne. Love me some Larry Fishburne.
2 showdowns in a row for Larry.
He's just so fucking amazing. Jolie Richardson, she like reminds me of another actress or actor. But I can't put my finger on it. But also, you've seen her in other movies.
She reminds me of, she reminds me of a little bit is the, oh my God, what's Sam Neill's co-star in Jurassic Park? Laura Dern.
Yes,
that's who it is.
Yes. Okay. That's who it was. Because I feel like we were talking about Jurassic Park and her face came into mind. Yep. Mm-hmm. That's who it is. Jason Isaacs. Again, I don't know exactly where he came from, but his face is insanely familiar. Jack Noseworthy.
You're gonna say handsome
again? Oh yeah, no. I mean, there are a lot of handsome men in this film.
Yeah,
it's a very attractive cast.
He's a good-looking man.
Yeah, across the board. I mean,
he's
some of these people that I'm like, I don't know exactly where I've seen them.
Yeah,
really.
Well, he's a Harry Potter.
Yeah, Jason Isaacs. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, for sure. But yeah, even Richard T. Jones, again, can't put a finger on exactly what I've seen him in, but I've seen him in shit like that. But getting back to the story, so they get basically sent out to this random BFE Neptune, whatever the fuck that is. Go through stasis.
Are you just hearing of the planet Neptune just now? You're suggesting to me that maybe you have never heard of Neptune.
No, but I like the way that it like describe where they're going as like this some sort of like decaying orbit of around Neptune.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying. BFE. Of
I know.
Neptune.
It just sounded like you didn't know what Neptune was.
No, it just reminds me of my hometown.
Yeah.
And so
it's off the beaten path.
It's a BFE somewhere in New York. You wouldn't have heard of it. It's fine.
Well, they even go as far as to say like didn't they say like no rescue mission or something had ever gone that far out and returned?
Right.
Yeah, I think like they said like one. Yeah. So this is a pretty extreme mission. Everyone's just like insanely intense, like freaking out in the first place about it. Mm-hmm. But any hoops, they get to basically close enough to BFE Neptune. I'm going to refer to it that entire time, guys, just as a FYI. Hope you're okay with it. And they finally are now being debriefed by Dr. William Weir about what's going on. Is that this ship, Event Horizon, had gone missing. What was it? 7 years prior, like longer than that. I think it's 7 years. And basically all of a sudden they got a blip. They're like, this ship is back somehow. And we learned that
the bitch is back.
The bitch is back. She's badder than ever. Literally badder than ever. And so Dr. William Weir, he was working with the NSA. And so this basic project that he was working on to send Event Horizon out was basically to work on how they can bend space and time to, instead of like go around things or go through one of these black holes. Again, I don't understand the science behind the space because I'm dumb. But the whole idea is that they wanted to basically bend space to go through it, and that makes sense to me.
It's one of these things where he goes to say like he basically says, like in layman's terms, we can travel at the speed of light.
Yes,
but they're like, no, you can't. And he's like, well, it's not actually what happens. What really happens is we fold, the space-time continuum in a way that allows us to, jump through like a wormhole.
You made it sound less hick than I did. Thank you.
Well, they don't say wormhole, but like that's kind of what they're talking. Like as a sci-fi dork, like everyone else just calls it a wormhole. Like I was hearing his explanation. Like, it's a wormhole. Say wormhole.
Yeah.
Yeah. Whatever it would specifically be. Say wormhole. Whatever it would specifically be. Yeah. The whole idea is like they were able to bend this space and time essentially to go through it. And what we come to find out eventually is somehow the ship came back. So then, okay, I'm going to jump to that. We now found the ship. We attached to the ship and we start exploring. And all of a sudden, from the beginning, they're like, what the fuck happened
Going
here?
through the fridge. What do you guys got?
Yeah.
You guys got beers? Like, what are you doing?
Did you have peanut butter? Do you got peanut butter?
They got plenty of cold ones on there. Corpses.
Yeah, dog.
Jokes.
We got blood splatter. We got dead bodies.
Yeah, just
we
piles of guts and
Yeah.
shit.
There's a lot of casual gore.
The first thing, though, before they get on the ship that I want to make a note about is I think it's Stark. Notes that they try to find like any sort of biological blip on the ship to see if there's anything living at that time, and they come to find out that it's just spread out throughout the whole ship, so almost as if like it's not just one thing, like it would be like a circle, it's the entire ship. So somehow they kind of are hinting that maybe the ship's alive. They don't totally say it right then and there, but they're like, something's going on with the ship. And so that's when they get on to find dead bodies. They find that basically there's looks like a huge massacre here. And Justin is one of the first victims of sorts. He basically comes to find this. It's almost like these entryways to wherever they went, or perhaps when they were in the other universe, if we want to call that, when it took over the ship,
or something.
Dimension. Yeah, it's almost like creating different dimensions like within the ship. And so Justin basically finds one of these where it's like this goo, or perhaps it is literally the alien of sorts that's on this ship now that is attacking him.
Or it's like part of the dimension. Is it meant to be like a pocket dimension
that it looks like a portal of sorts, but it's, I don't know.
Yeah, it came to like they ended up going to, like, the way I've understood it. I've seen this movie. I think this is the third time I've seen it, maybe the second. But like the way I took it is in there. This is the cosmic horror element of it, is like the unknowable, the forbidden knowledge that humans took on that they shouldn't have. Is they figure out how to do this jumping into wormholes shit, but then they didn't really understand how it was working. So then in the interim between getting from point A to point B, they ended up in an interim spot that's not cool. Like that's like basically hell.
Yeah.
Or what we think of as hell. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
exactly.
They basically call it like a chaos dimension at some point as well. So it's hard to tell if
I feel like I'm living in a chaos dimension.
Oh, that's a good fucking beer name.
Chaos dimension.
TM.
That's a barley wine for sure. For sure. For sure.
Wait, what was my other one? Blood spa at the what?
Blood spa in the hotel pan.
Blood spa hotel pan, yeah.
Blood spa in the hotel pan and
chaos dimension.
Chaos what?
Chaos dimension.
Chaos dimension. TM. It's on record now.
You can't brew
Sons
those.
of bitches. I'm gonna brew them.
No, I'm saying the audience. The audience can't brew them. You can brew them.
Exactly. I can.
Yeah, Meg will cease and desist you so hard.
I'm gonna fucking bully the fuck out of you. Watch, these are already on Untapped, guys. This is fucking dumb. These are pretty good names, though. Anywho, let's talk about Chaos Dimension for 2 seconds.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I didn't know if Steve was about to say
Oh
something.
no, I was just going to say, yeah,
off.
it's we don't know if it's like literal Christian hell or just traveling to a dimension that is just insanity all the time.
Yeah, I took it as like, oh, there's so many beers called Chaos Dimension. By the way, I just looked on tap. But anyway, yeah, I took it as like, it's our little ant brains call it hell, but in reality, there's a million hells, and these dickheads just happen to stumble on one of them.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? This like kind of like the videos. So of course, throughout this, they find like a video and a sound, like found recordings that they were able to start pulling like sound from, and then eventually like were able to look at video. Is like some of the video elements of this kind of reminded me of Hellraiser in a sense.
Oh yeah, I mean this whole film is a pastiche of like other horror movies, and it like it's hard for me to believe that Paul Wes Anderson, whatever his fucking name is. It's hard.
Paul
W.S. Anderson.
W.S. Anderson.
WWF. Paul
W.W.F.
Anderson.
Two middle names. Actually, I have a friend who has two middle names. So it's like,
just refer to him as who he is. Writer and director of such films as Resident Evil: The Final Chapter, Resident Evil Afterlife. He basically he did all the Resident Evil movies, and he did all the Death Race movies, and he directed Mortal Kombat.
Which Mortal Kombat's fine.
That's great.
That's fine.
Yeah.
But like,
I watched it 1,000 times when I was a kid.
Yeah. You're just coming at it. Your tone is coming at it.
No, I'm just shocked that he made this movie, but the movie itself is like a total pastiche of other horror movies. Like the ships are great designs. Like they look like the Nostromo from Alien, with how dirty they are. Like everything you said about like the Chaos Dimension looking like Hellraiser stuff, and even one of the characters says like, "I have such things to show you," you know. So like,
yeah, I mean, do you? Okay, so the one thing that I do like about this that I don't know, which I think brings it back to this subgenre. And I think it's probably one of the more important things too, is that because the ship in essence, in a differential way from what we're saying, is like pulling elements from other films, which that's fine. That fucking happens. Is that like the ship has a sense of like infiltrating people's minds, figuring out their fears and using it against them to a point where they don't understand what is real and what is not. And I think that is one of the biggest sticking points with this, outside of the fact that we are dealing with alien spaceships and yada, yada, yada. But I don't think that's as interesting as more of the existential nature of like some of the things that go on within the ship of sorts.
Yeah, I mean, the location doesn't have to be a spaceship. This could have just as easily been an underground base that does the same thing. Yeah. So
totally.
Yeah, the ship just became a vessel for the unknowable, unspeakable chaos to come back in.
Yeah, and I think the other element that this movie brings in that is its differential method is like it's bringing the science element of like the bending space and time and going to a different fucking dimension of sorts, and it almost being a place of hell. It's like that again. We talk about the fear of the unknown. We talk about like we don't fucking know what is all of this exploration that we really should do and what we want to do. We don't know what the fuck is on the other side. And with all the brilliant scientists we have out there, someone could literally find a dimension or a different realm or like a planet of sorts that literally
goddamn aliens
is fucking hell. Yeah, like
some
it's just a completely
aliens.
different thing. And like what our hell is versus what their hell is, that might not be the case. You know, like they might think living on Earth is hell. Actually, I think so too. But like, besides the point, I think these are two really, like, even just all the things we're talking about. Like, I think these are great sticking points for like why this is a great cosmic horror film. And like then add this layer that I'm trying to think of even the graphic nature of the other two in comparison, is that I feel like this one, and again, this is like a tertiary thing for me, is like the graphic horror element of it. Especially with this subgenre. I don't think it's super important for it to be like very graphic, but I think it is an interesting, like adds a layer of tension to the whole film that I think is, it adds something I also liked.
Yeah, it adds, and like I mean, just by us seeing it visually, we get a sense of like how it's driving the people on the ship mad.
Mm-hmm.
Totally.
So
yeah, even like what's the little baby-faced guy's name? Like
Justin.
That is so Lovecraftian.
Mm-hmm.
The way
Oh,
that
his like eyes getting he got killed.
well,
Or
not
he
even
almost
that
died?
is what he says before he like basically
Yeah.
depressurizes himself. Is
Mhm.
like there's a thing in which a lot of like literary types really make fun of Lovecraft for this, because everything, a lot of his stories, he just basically says like it's the unknowable chaos evil thing, where he just goes like, it was so scary you couldn't even imagine how scary it
Sure.
is. Like that's kind of what he says,
It
and that's
would
kind of
shatter
like what
your mind to imagine it even.
Yeah, if you imagine the scariest
but when
thing
he
ever
wrote that,
times
though-
a million. Like that's
Yeah,
kind of
but
what
imagine
Lovecraft does, but I like it. I'm
Totally.
a
The
sucker
time
for
and
it.
place of it, though,
Yeah.
is like, imagine reading that when he would have written that. And that
Mhm.
would have probably been
Yeah.
scary as fuck. But honestly, in that scene, what is more scary is that when he just all of a sudden gets out of, like, switches out of that,
Mhm.
and he's just like, oh no, save me. And I'm like, oh, fuck.
Oh yeah, and
God.
you feel
It's
for
like
the
because
little baby face
yeah,
boy.
you get this emotional drive to it that it brings you into the fucking story, and I think that's also an important element. And I mean, I think possession does a lot of. I mean, it did a lot for me in that way, and I think sometimes when a movie can not only like emote like fear from me, but also then bring me in emotionally. I love the balance of these type of things. I think it's just way more impactful, which is probably what has drawn me to this genre or subgenre in general. So I'm just gonna highlight Captain Miller's story of sorts, because he kind of like kept going back to this whole, his story was basically like someone got left behind and someone ended up like getting caught on fire, and they were in space. And, you know, he talked about in detail about how the fire looked on this guy. So he was basically being haunted by this guy that caught on fire, and that he, to save his entire crew, had to leave behind. And he's been
it was like all like shit from their past, like was getting brought up. Like this
completely.
is this evil from wherever the fuck it came from, Neptune or some bullshit.
Yeah.
Well, it's not from Neptune. It's from the pocket dimension or whatever. Anyway,
it's a BFE wormhole.
Yeah, it knows what what affects you the most.
Mhm.
Exactly. It uses again, which is why the Hellraiser like aspect of it. I'm like, but again, I feel like maybe it's a reversal of like, because I saw Hellraiser before I've ever saw this, that I'm like, maybe that's why it's reminding me of it. But I'm pretty sure this story was probably written prior, or maybe not. I don't know.
What? No.
If the story was written prior or not.
No, this is an original script, and like it also lifts a lot of other stuff from Clive Barker. Like, Clive Barker wrote the Hellbound Heart way before this.
In the 70s or something, right? Late 70s?
70s, 80s. Yeah. Way before this. He also wrote what would become Candyman way before this. And before Candyman.
That's it. But I was getting at too with Miller about his story is the whole idea of like, he didn't want to leave anyone behind. Again, being true Captain Nature, yada, yada, yada. So he basically is like, Dr. William Weir keeps getting in the way of every plan to try to get the original ship, the Lewis and Clark, out of there, because he is now so drawn to the ship. He also helped like design and build the ship. So like this is his baby, but he's also being sucked in by the nature of the ship. So when they're trying to get Lewis and Clark out, I think one of the first things he basically, as they're repairing it from a big like hole they got in it, he then put a bomb right where the two ships connected, again completely destroying that ship. And then they come to find out that on the event horizon is that they could blow half of the ship and get the other one out safely. Which
there's like a little escape. Isn't like the front of the ships like can be a little, it's like a little, not an escape pod, but it's not kind of like that.
It's like a life system. It's like a lifeboat system. And then just like the bridge connects the lifeboat to the fucking gravity drive.
Exactly. Yeah. So, trying to think of all the nature, because this is like when shit's just kind of going chaotic, because we're completely basically ends up falling prey to the ship just as much as he was just like following it for a while. Like he was enchanted and then basically fell prey because his wife committed suicide. I'm assuming while he was on a trip.
Yeah,
is basically the way I interpreted it.
Yeah, she commits
always away for all of this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she commits suicide because of he was working on the ship, and so like gives him the old Shining treatment. You know, the dead lady in a bathtub.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, but she at least had nice boobs, so hey, we at least got that.
That's the Shining. That's my biggest gripe with the Shining is like. There's no good boobs.
Boobs are I mean they're okay for a minute, but then they get ugly.
Well, well, I guess like, it starts out and then in the tub. Yeah.
I mean it's a real boner killer.
That's what I think about that scene as a boner killer. Mm-hmm.
I think one of the most fun scene is like, so after Weir gets his eyes gouged out and he's just like, where we're going, you don't need to see. It's just like this really haunting like interaction. But he is, I think, so again, the ship itself, I think, is still an organism of sorts. So it's still very reactive. So when they blew the other ship off, I'm trying to think of his name, Cooper, basically got blown off with the part that exploded, but was able to get back to the ship. And Weir basically in his state was very reactive, shot a hole through one of the windows. But anywho, where we're going at with now is Cooper gets back on the ship with Stark, and basically, why am I always forgetting fucking names? Captain Miller is like, I'm gonna detonate all of these bombs manually. I'm going to do this. So basically allowing not only Stark, Cooper, and also Justin, because when Justin was saved, he was basically put in stasis. So
he's not in great shape, but he's still kicking.
Yeah, he's still alive. You know, they're like, we're basically just gonna freeze you where you are. And
that's gonna be great when he wakes up. He's like, "Ow!
It all hurts so bad.
Ow! Why'd you guys wake me up? This sucks."
So we're getting definitely towards the end here, as I think I already pointed out some of the highlight points of it, but even just how haunting this situation was once they were actually saved. Like I liked that there was almost like dreams within dreams that kind of threw you off and got you invested. You're like, oh my God, they're never getting out, blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean? Like, I think so. Basically there was a second rescue mission for the ship that basically was detached from Event Horizon. And actually, now that I'm questioning it, that might have been all in their head too. Because I think this ship just basically has a way of like creating these like nightmares and dreams at the same time.
Well, I think it was like one of those things where, so it's whatever this entity that came back from the other dimension that is infecting or infesting the ship. Because it's like a ghost ship in a way. It's like, it's not the ship itself. The ship ultimately was the catalyst for being able to visit the dimension, but the entity that is now trying to survive and like use its, the kind of chaos, like, kind of preying on the chaos that it creates, if you will. I took it as it's luring more people to it.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's explicitly said, but
yeah, I don't
know if that's explicitly said either, because it almost seems like, I guess towards the end, that like they are in theory rescued, but that dream within the dream like really leads you to believe that no matter what they were doing, they were going to never get off that ship.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's hard to tell whether or not, that's the way things are. Because like earlier in the film, you get a dream within a dream sequence with Weir, because he thinks, he's been, his wife is, alive or whatever, and then he wakes up again. But I think I don't know, the other big sticking point with me about this that ends really well as a cosmic horror film is the way Miller sacrifices himself, and he's in the gravity drive part of the ship when it goes back to hell, and he's still alive. Yeah. Like you just have to imagine like, oh, Miller just, sentenced himself back to hell and like, or sentenced himself to hell, and like he now has to live in that. So
yeah, I wonder if like, and they never really, at least to my recollection, explained the nature of, I mean, the gravity drive is essentially like the heart of the ship, right? It's the thing that allows them to travel, between the dimensions or jump through a dimensional wormhole to another time. But they never really explain why the entity that came back with them is somehow connected to the gravity drive.
I almost like took it as it was like this energy source. Like they were able to use it, to kind of like almost like what are we talking about? Either like a windmill of sorts.
It was like the catalyst, I guess. I guess you're not really supposed to know, and I think that's also reflecting of the whole like forbidden knowledge thing, because Sam Neill's character was like almost stumbled upon it. Like he was brilliant enough to harness it to a certain extent,
right?
But he didn't understand the true nature of what he was creating, obviously.
But I also think it was a matter of like when he went to the other dimension was smarter than him and knew how to use this to their benefit. I think that was like the bigger point.
Yeah, it was almost like an insect gets into the house and ends up in a jar. Yeah. You know what I mean?
You can also think of it as like a radiation leak, because the drive never fully closes when they come back. So like your proximity to it affects you in different ways. So like Cooper and Smith, they don't want to be on, or Cooper and Smith are repairing the Lewis and Clark. So they're off the event horizon. And then like Weir is the most connected. So he is affected by it. Miller and, what's her name? I forget.
The mom, the woman.
Yeah, the mom.
Yeah.
Like they have.
Oh yeah, the mom. Yeah.
Like they have things that weigh on them in guilty ways.
Right.
And then like Justin has full contact because he goes through the gate to the other side. So like he steps on the elephant's foot in Chernobyl. He goes through and gets a full dose.
Or I was using, in my mind, I immediately went to Prince of Darkness, and he's the guy who the devil pissed straight in his mouth. Because it's a little bit like the Prince of Darkness, but that's the leak. The devil is starting to leak out of the thing, and in this instance, it's just a damn wormhole to a devil dimension instead of the devil has been trapped in a dang Secret of the Ooze cylinder for a long time. Yeah. Justin, the devil pissed in Justin's mouth. Everyone else was just along for the ride. Yeah.
Again, this movie builds itself up from the parts of other films.
Yeah.
The one thing you skipped over, Meg, that you didn't bring up was the whole the video screen everybody gets, the Liberate Te Ex Furnace.
Oh yeah, no, but I feel like that was like more.
Well, I mean, it was an inspiration for the Zayo album. How do you not remember the Zayo album?
I wasn't really into Zayo. I literally only saw them for the first time this past year, so maybe I'm just a bad person who's into metal.
So this is over my head. I don't know who these people are. What you're talking about.
Zayo is a metal band from Greensburg, dude, which is hilarious to me.
Really?
Yeah, they were really popular when we were probably like 16, 17.
Okay.
And their first album was Liberate Te Ex Furnace.
Which was a reference to this. Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah. I would have not actually caught that, but it's fine. No, but I mean, I feel like I didn't want to like go into too much like graphic detail of like all like every nitty gritty scene, but that one I mean, it definitely was. I think my first takeaway was like, it definitely reminded me of Hellraiser.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like it was very graphic, which aided, like, I already talked about this as like, this movie had way more elements of like horror and like graphic, like brutality in it. And I did like that a lot more than say like the other two in that regards to this sort of subgenre.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah,
but that's really all I have to say about it.
I remember this is the first movie that I remember seeing that, because I think I saw this movie before I saw Prince of Darkness. But now that I think about it, not only what I was talking about, which is, you know, the containment leak, if you will, you know, element of it, but also Prince of Darkness does the whole gooey portal too.
Yeah, the mirror portal. Yeah.
But it's a gooey mirror, and then this is just like tar.
Right.
But it's a similar
but I feel
concept.
like that's just one element of that film. I don't think, like, when I think about, if we're talking about portals for this film, I think the bigger thing that we're talking about is basically the folding of that time and space. I mean, and like it being a catalyst to bring the ship to a completely other dimension that could be hell of sorts, or a type of hell. Yeah. So I feel like what we were experiencing as a comparison was just like a smaller element to that versus like it being completely derivative there. But
yeah, I mean, I think
I'm sure there's more arguments that you could make here, but
no, it definitely has you know, some I don't think it is unfair or really that big of a damnation, you know, a damning thing about the movie to say that it took from a lot of other sci-fi horror and cosmic horror flicks. You know what I mean? I mean, everything does, you know?
Yeah, no, it's just, it's the fact that this one actually does it effectively and does it well. Like, you know, it's aside from some of the bad CGI and like the opening credit song, it holds up pretty well.
Yeah, I mean, 1997 was tough for music and for CGI.
Yeah.
Well, also, it's just tough because I think Paul Anderson's only into electro and techno, because you think
he really seems to be.
Hey,
think about his movies. I'm not gonna
lie, guys. I'm pretty sure if I would have been introduced to that, or like when I was in high school, I might have had a phase.
Yeah,
a pretty hard phase that I would probably be still into now, because I'm getting way too into like shoegaze and industrial music now as an adult.
Yeah,
it just happens. You know, we all, again, I'd buy a pair of Trip pants right now. I'm just saying.
Also, let's be clear. This is not Paul Thomas Anderson.
Not at all.
This is Paul W.S. Anderson, which I do believe we've now confused a couple of. This is not There Will Be Blood, Boogie Nights, Magnolia, you know, The Master, Licorice Pizza, Paul Anderson. This is Resident Evil Apocalypse, Mortal Kombat, Death Race 4 Beyond Anarchy. Paul
already
Anderson.
Has a vote for me. I mean, we already mentioned Mortal Kombat, so we're already good. All right.
So, are we ready to vote?
I think I am.
All right, Meg. Why don't we go with?
Damn it! No, I don't want to go first.
Why don't we go with Meg go first? Why don't we see about Meg going first on
Meg
this?
go first.
I don't Meg go. Oh, I'm choosing my film then. My first pick is my own film.
Why don't we Meg go first? All right, but what's your second pick?
Why don't we Meg go first?
Why don't Meg go first?
This is like a hard. This is why I'd rather be the deciding factor, because I think it would.
I'm sure you would.
No, and not because I'm trying.
No, I'm just kidding.
It's nothing to do with my own film. It's more so because Re-Animator has quickly, since I've seen it probably for the first time in the last year and a half, became it's like a favorite. I would rewatch it many times in my life. I will rewatch it many times in my life. Possession, on the other hand, had such an impact on me upon the first time watching it that I still think about it from time to time. And I've never felt so triggered by a movie. And then I also felt like it was very poetic and beautiful, but also very fucked up. But also at the end of the day, wasn't my favorite film, and I probably won't watch it many more times in my life. It'll be like a once every 5 to 10 years type movie that I'd revisit it. So that's kind of where my dilemma comes into play. Whereas one was insanely impactful, and the reason I wouldn't watch it is because of how triggering it was. So I don't know if that's a good or bad thing.
Then go with your heart and pick the one with interpretive dance.
Don't tell me what to do with my life.
Don't tell me what to do.
What represents cosmic horror better? And if we're talking about existentialism, we're talking about things that make you like kind of like not really understand what reality is. I think Possession is a better representation of it. Maybe. I mean, it's like there's not really a lot of science elements to it. So I understand that's part of it. And there's definitely arguments, Brian, and I'm not picking Possession for any other reason. I think like there's so many times where you're like, I don't even understand what I'm looking at right now. And I think for the significant impact it had on me, that's insanely
I respect
biased.
that.
It's insanely biased.
Possession's a fantastic flick. Don't get me wrong.
It was. Again, I won't watch it probably for another 5 years, but
yeah, it sticks with you for sure. I will say, just because, being a little bit, being more of a fan of like weird fiction, like literary weird fiction and cosmic horror, and having listen, I've listened to like 9 bajillion episodes of like an HP Lovecraft podcast. Like, so I'm a big fan like of his. So I get that I'm coming from a different angle. I am going to vote for mine first, but I am probably going to pick Event Horizon for mine. Not because I think it's a better movie. I actually think Possession is a better movie, but Event Horizon has great performances. Don't get me wrong. I mean, look at the cast. Fantastic cast. Like there's no bad. It's not like we're talking about a shit cast versus a good cast here. But I do really think that it represents cosmic horror, or it represents the elements of cosmic horror that I want to see more. So that's why I'm going to pick Event Horizon.
Sick.
So ditto. Yeah. Like, I think Re-Animator is a better film, but like I said, you need the background in Lovecraft to just be able to sit and like actually reflect on what's happening in it. To get the kind of cosmic horror elements, because none of the characters on screen really portray that. They're like they're being jokey, or they're being arch villains, or it's really not until the very end where Cain has to resurrect Meg that it becomes like, oh, that's a real feudal cycle, that sucks. But overall, like, yeah, Event Horizon takes enough stuff from other places. And like, you have to sit there with like the way the characters are reflecting on their guilt. You see Weir descend into the same madness that Herbert West does, of like chasing unknowable knowledge and like siding with his ship and siding against humanity for his ship to spread this evil.
And he's a very Herbert West type.
Yeah.
I mean, you know what I mean?
Yeah. And I think I just think you get a little bit more, like, especially from like the way Justin like walks into the void and comes out like completely changed. That's such another great element.
I also like that it's a bigger story. Frankly, than either of our movies. Like, I do like Re-Animator a lot more than Event Horizon for entertainment purposes, but I do appreciate that Event Horizon is such a big story with huge catastrophic what's the word I'm looking for,
like just ramifications of like
yes is the word I was looking for.
Because like what if it comes back again? What if what if it makes Neptune hell? That's the other thing, is like and like this, it's just like a real personal thing, is like, this is so close to being a good Doom movie because it's
if a bunch of fucking demons came out of it. Yeah.
It's so close to being a good Doom movie because there hasn't been a
but
good.
The Rock's not even in it at all.
I just had a thought too that I just realized that it's like how this is all very cyclical. What was the element two in Event Horizon? What would they call it?
The gravity.
It like reminded me of like, I think the gravity or whatever. It reminded me of Prometheus. In essence, like that whole room.
Oh yeah,
got created for that. I like now that I'm thinking about it, I'm like, it's just interesting how those things can become like, we borrowed this from here, but this is also great.
It's
cool.
Yeah, Prometheus is definitely a great example of a modern, cosmic horror.
I liked both of the newer Alien movies too. But anywho, we don't have to go into that.
I thought there were good parts of Covenant, but like it ended so terribly. I was so mad.
Sure. Yeah. I can agree with that actually.
But anyway, stupid Meg, you win.
A lot though.
Anyway, Meg, you won. Sorry.
I'm gonna drink my pickle beer right now. As I ate my pickle, while you guys were telling me how much my movie was better than yours. So
here's the thing: is as soon as you picked, because I really thought you were gonna pick Re-Animator, but then when you picked Possession, I was like, I'm fucked.
Yeah,
I'm fucked. Because I know Steve was not going to pick Re-Animator.
You know what it was? I think like when I saw it, I remember, I don't know if I mentioned this up with it. Like I remember the first time watching it, it was just like with my ex Jordan. It was just like one of those like wake up in the morning, put it on. And I was just like, fuck, this is like spooky. Like what the fuck is going on? So I think I have like an emotional attachment to like that sort of surprise. In an essence. And I think at that point too, I don't think I had seen any of the Hellraisers yet even. So I think I like having those innocent eyes, whatever, going into it, I think allowed me to like have a different appreciation for what I saw.
This is one of those classic scenarios where you have the worst movie and you win.
She has the best representation of cosmic horror, of the genre, but I mean, our movies are better.
I mean, again, I already said that
it's a great movie. Don't get me wrong; these are all three like heavy hitters. They're all really good movies. Don't get me wrong; it's not like it's
I'll watch Event Horizon again at some point. I might be more apt to watch Re-Animator more often because it's super fun. Possession can go fuck itself right now. I'm now tired of talking about it. Just joking, guys. It was good. It's a good episode.
So my question is, do you have a plan? That's all right. So we will learn, guys, next week what Meg's punishment episode will consist of, what she's going to pick to punish Steve and I.
Conditioned to losing lately.
I wonder if like right now Meg is being maybe it's because we've been talking for like 3.5 hours, but Meg is being a very gracious champ right now. But I have a feeling she's going to just come hard on the next episode.
I am.
She's full of enough pickles and beer that she's sedated, that she's not overly mean at the moment.
She's tired. She's been up since 5 a.m. Yeah.
Excuse me. I actually woke up at 2:45 today.
What? That's too early.
I had to work at 5 this morning. I was up at 2:45.
Boy.
Tomorrow I'll be up at 3:45.
All right, you got to go to bed. We need to let Meg go to bed, guys. Tune in next week to learn what our punishment is going to be dealt out to us here in 2023, guys. It's going to be a whole dang year. That's the one thing I know about 2023. Whole dang year, beginning to end. Meg just gave us the little Cactus Jack, symbol there.
One of my buddies just gave me a late birthday present, and it was a I don't know how you call them, like embroidered cowboy type shirt that has a horse on either shoulder,
rhinestone,
and a
like denim,
like with the
Look
pearl buttons
Instagram
and everything.
Stories, guys, it's pretty sick. It was on brand. There's horses on it.
Meg is once a horse girl, always a horse girl. That's what I always say.
Yeah, I mean, horses rule everything around me.
Cream.
Horses rule everything around me.
Now that's a shirt.
And on that,
that's a shirt.
That is horses rule everything around me. All right. And on that note, guys, for the Halloween is Forever crew, I'm Brian.
I am your new fucking champ.
She's coming to life, guys.
Oh, no. I'm terrified.
All right, guys. We'll see you later. Don't forget, horses rule everything around me. Bye.
Cream.